On Saturday, January 8, 2022, I had full-time trader and black box stocks moderator Kang down in my cabin by the riverside to talk about a few things. I always have an outline, but I don't really know where these things are going to go. The point of this podcast is to be organic and flexible and able to follow these guests wherever they lead us. And Kang led us on a 3-hour wild ride where we talk about trading, of course, but all sorts of other things. So grab something to drink, sit down somewhere comfortable, turn up the volume. Kang himself. So what do you guys usually do on Saturdays? Like what's going on around the house?
Well, like my son this morning, my oldest son, he plays basketball. So he's 14. So man, like it's usually at like different times. So like today I had to get up at like the butt crack of dawn, man. It was like he plays like 30 minutes away and it was at 8 o'clock. So yeah, man, it was like early morning on a Saturday. Generally I like to sleep in, man. But other than that, man, it's just kind of been hanging out and just kind of relaxing after the week. Not too much going on.
Yeah, that's nice. That's what the weekends are for. How was this week? Crazy or what? How do you describe this week in your trading experience?
So the first week of the year, generally it's not too bad. Meaning, like usually we'll start to see that volume coming back into the market, but it was good in terms of range, but a little strange, I would say, just because of the whole Fed pivot and everything. So whereas in years past, it's just been all right, let's keep going up. But this year, not so much. We've got a little bit of an overhang from the Fed, so it's just been interesting.
Yeah. I agree. I think that a lot of people had some tough times in this first week, and but as you know, and as you guys out there might know, I mean, I do see we will definitely get some of these questions later on, guys. No doubt about that. I do see them, but I mean, there's a couple hundred people in here, and there's a lot of questions. So like, we're just gonna chat. Don't tell Kang that though, because I want him to be calm and just yeah, man, nobody showed up. I'm sorry. It's just me and you, and we're just gonna talk about some stuff. And anyways, I mean, we'll get to some of these questions, but just be aware of that too, everybody. I'm glad you guys came. It's a great turnout, and I do agree. There's many basically comments paraphrasing Kang is the man. So just in case you were curious, you're the man.
Oh man, I think they're talking about somebody else.
No, there's no doubt.
I don't know if that's me.
You are a humble gentleman, and as you know, we were talking before. You go on all kinds of podcasts. You talk to people about trading all the time, on voice, nonstop, right? So I'm hoping we can just I've got some areas I'd like to just talk to you about. Of course, we'll talk trading and whatever comes up. I definitely would like to talk some Tesla maybe and get some ideas about that. But basically, I'm just kind of curious, like, you guys are moderators, you guys are, full-time traders and moderators at Black Box Stocks, and you guys do a lot of teaching and a lot of just mentoring. And, I don't know, I just started this little series. I want to, like, me and other members just kind of get to know you guys a little bit better beyond, trading technicals and those types of things. So I just wonder if we could just start. If anybody doesn't know, how do you describe your current role in Black Box Stocks? Like, how do you describe that, and what's involved in that? Just curious, the other side of it. What do you do as a moderator? What does that mean to you?
And I think that's a good question. We'll get that started here in just a second. I was going to confirm though, like,
yeah.
if anybody out, because I know there's some people out there that's got like speakers and they blast it throughout the house, and they might have like kids around. So I did confirm with you. It's all right to cuss on here, right?
Okay. Yes. Here's the deal. Yeah.
Y'all might want to put on some headsets.
Now listen, everybody's used to you in voice, like telling everybody we gotta do G-rated stuff, we got to tone it down. And yeah, you guys should be aware of that. Definitely. I work for Black Box Stocks too. It's the greatest job in the world. I'm definitely the new guy. I kind of fell out of the sky and started doing stuff like this and teaching the intro class, and I love it. It's amazing. But yes, this is an independent podcast. This is indie. This is just me. Cursing is fine. So yes, everybody, that's true. If he so chooses to express himself in passionate verbiage, that's R-rated. It's going to happen. So yeah, that's a good disclaimer. I didn't even think about that. And
No,
yeah,
you're good. You're good. I just don't want to be. I don't want to be responsible for, at the dinner table, somebody's like,
yeah.
4 or 5 year old. I learned the F word today, and it's like, and I'm gonna blame Kang. It's like, I don't need that. I don't need that.
You're a teacher at heart. You're teaching kids the F word. You're teaching people Tesla.
There you go. There you go.
It works. All right. So yeah. Full-time trader and moderator at Black Box. That's fine. But me and the listeners, we don't really know what that means. So tell us about that.
Well, I mean, there's pretty much the book definition, moderator, just trying to herd the cats pretty much. We're all have that basic function where we're trying to keep, the room rolling and, keep things on topic and, because trying to keep the pissing contest down, people arguing about what they think is going to happen with XYZ and XYZ, which is, fine, a good spirited debate, but, we've got a lot of people in the room, so we try to keep it focused. But I would say outside of, outside of trying to, enlighten newer traders on, hey, these are what, let me kind of going through this, kind of sharing our experiences as well, because I know we've all, and anyone who's traded for a while can say that they've had, different things that they've struggled with in the past or stumbling blocks that they've encountered. So trying to share those experiences so that hopefully people don't kind of go down the same path. I would describe though, outside of outside of those things, and then, also pointing out, hey, this is how, because it is a really good tool in terms of using the flow news. I mean, there's a lot of things I know from when I first started, there's a lot of things that they've added on. And I know that they're continuously trying to refine, Black Box to provide more value for all the members. So other than connecting, that and how it can definitely help everyone, I would say for me individually, outside of everything that we all do, commonly, I would say for me personally, I would describe it also as I wouldn't even say like guide. I think of myself like a guide on a tour, right? If that makes sense. It's like, all right, hey, you want to start trading? Okay, this is what's the way I kind of look at it. This is what's going on. This is what you're going to encounter. Strap in for the ride. It can get interesting. And I would say personally, I just love it. I think the biggest thing that I love, and maybe I'm kind of getting ahead to another question, but the biggest thing and the greatest sense of satisfaction here is, just I love it when, seeing somebody come in and that light bulb turning on and just really somebody realizing, hey, I can make a living doing this, or I can make extra money doing this. I mean, to me, that's powerful. I love it.
Oh yeah, that's no doubt. I mean, the idea of learning to trade to the point where you're consistently profitable, and like you just said, it's a powerful form of independence. I would imagine. I just do it. I'm just a part-time trader. Everyone, I'm definitely not full-time, but I would imagine that you guys who are full-time profitable traders, yeah, that's got to be a powerful sense of independence and responsibility, I would imagine.
Well, I mean, you get to the point where, let's say if you're 9 to 5, you get to the point, where you are consistently green and you're making enough to, be at the house and, not have to schedule PTO, not have to go answer to clients, not have to, constantly sit through pointless meetings. It's hell, taking that first step. It's empowering. Just tell your boss to go F off, and then you go work for yourself. So that's liberating. We all, everybody in 9 to 5 fantasizes about doing that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah. So, like, how long did it take you to get profitable? I've heard all kinds of stories about that. I've heard everywhere from like 3 weeks to 5 years. And I know it's neither one of those. So how long? Yeah, somebody said, Kang was profitable. Somebody said Kang was profitable in 3 weeks, like from his first trade. I just thought, man, come on.
I wish.
I mean, maybe he was, but that's an outlier thing. However, how long did it take you to get to that point?
No, man, I wish it didn't, I wish it was that short of time. No, I'd say I started to kind of break even, meaning, I'd probably kind of hit the flat line probably between like 6 to 9 months. And then after that 6 to 9 month period, it was, there, and even though after that, it wasn't like, okay, 6 to 9 months in that, span of time that I'm like all of a sudden now, and I just break out after that 9 month, and, the chart's like breaking out of a pennant, and my, P&L's up and to the right. It was a slog, it was definitely a fight, because I'd say the biggest part of this, I mean, definitely trying to find your way, and definitely trying to figure out what approach works best for you individually as a trader. But man, there's a hell of a lot of emotional parts to this, and like mental struggles you got to deal with too. And so for me, I just had to, it was really, in addition to trying to get my charting down and stuff like that, it was just, man, I used to have to really fight to kind of get some of those emotions in line. So I would say, like, after about 9 months, I started kind of eking out some gains. But I would say to where I could be dangerous and make a go out of it is probably 14, 15 months, somewhere around in there.
Yeah. In that initial 9 to 14 months, did you come close to quitting at all? Did you seriously think about giving it up?
Several times. Oh yeah, several times.
What kept you from throwing the towel in?
It was kind of revisiting why I wanted to do this in the first place. Like just kind of reflecting back on what was going on in the past, and I thought about some old bosses that I had, and I was like, do I really want to go back and work for them? Or do I really want to work for anybody like them? And man, it was in, to your point, this really does provide like a really, it's definitely tough. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean to glaze over that piece of it, because it is very tough. But once you get to the point where you're kind of hitting your stride, it's very much worth it. And so I felt like, you know what, I'm not, I don't want to give up, for obviously selfish reasons, but at the same time, it's like I really want to make sure that if I do that, I don't want to give up prematurely. I think what kept me motivated though is being able to see, as stressed out as I was probably at times, still being able to see that even if I was making, incremental progress, that's kind of what, even in some of the darkest times of the journey, kept me motivated.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who just trade part-time, and or even just barely part-time. They just do it for a hobby, and they're happy to have a slightly profitable hobby. But clearly there's a lot of people who are interested in full-time trading. And in the intro class, I teach Intro to the Market, which is designed for people who are just very, very new to the market. And people often, express during that class, that's why they're learning. They've been maybe trading literally for a week or two sometimes, and that's their goal, right? So I think that's an important part of all you guys' stories is, when people are early and they're new to it and they start losing some money, and that voice comes in that says quit, how you just kind of push through that And I like that idea of incremental progress. You don't have to be good at this in a few months. So incrementally, you saw that progress, and you were wanting to avoid going back to the 9 to 5 for sure.
Oh yeah, and again, just kind of because I remember the satisfaction back then. I remember one time, like it was I can't remember what day of the week it was, and I can't even remember what ticker it was, but I just remember the feeling of making. So what I would do back then is I would take to figure out also if it was worth, quote unquote, worth it. I would take my old salary that I was making from the job that I had prior, and I divided that down to, trading days. And so I took it, I basically took that, and I was like, I remember one day when I was getting ready to quit, and I was just like, you know what, let me take some time off. So I took a little bit of time off, took my son to the park, and we went out there and just kind of enjoyed the weather or whatever. Came back the next day, and I had made back then I would have a fixed amount in my mind, which I don't encourage anybody to do because that was kind of I've ran into that pitfall a little bit later on. But anyway, for that moment in time, I remember that I put a trade on. I don't want to say it took a couple of hours for everything to kind of work out, but anyway, I made my daily salary, if you would call it that day, and I was like, this could work. This could work because I made this in a couple of hours. I didn't have to deal with all the stuff that I had to do, in 9 to 5 world. So I just took that one day as a victory, and that kind of kept me going.
Nice. And so 12, 14-ish months and kind of working back. I definitely want to know the story of how you came to Black Box, but I would like to kind of work backwards a little bit and just kind of continue on this road you've already gone down. What were you doing before you were trading? What was your career? What was going on then?
So specifically, what I did before was I was in payroll. So I used to be a payroll manager prior to joining Black Box. And if anybody out there has worked in payroll before, the stresses of that. I actually worked for a national payroll company, and so we were managing. I was here in the Atlanta office. And we were managing all of our Metro Atlanta clients. And so I had about, when I first started there, I had roughly 10 payroll specialists, and they were all in charge of their, individual clients. And I would manage them, deal with all of their stuff and all of their staff development and everything that I had to do there. But then also I was in charge of escalations, if there was any issues there. And sometimes you're running payroll for one person, sometimes you're running payroll for of several hundred people, and so that could tend to be very there. There was a lot of 12 to 14 hour days there.
Yeah, I was about to say that's not a 9 to 5 job. That's an 8 to 8 job.
Oh yeah,
and so, and also payroll, and you said escalations. So you probably dealt with a lot of people just angry that over money,
Most definitely, a lot of pissed off clients, really, because if there's, and you quickly learn. I mean, I dealt with payroll, but in a different capacity prior to joining that job. But if there's one thing that will piss off people real quick and elicit the most savage of emotions is when you fuck with their money, right? You start fucking with somebody's money, and then a lot of stuff, a lot of people get mad. So
it's personal then.
Oh yeah. So one of my staff would run payroll, and let's just say if they ran it wrong, or they missed out on a nuance, or they missed out on adding something to, like, globally to this company's, to these deductions. And then all of a sudden, I remember one time we had a pretty big client, and they called in. You had to call in by, like, I want to say Tuesday to have payroll for that Friday. So they called in, they ran payroll with the specialist, specialist forgot to do one piece. And all of a sudden, I used to dread Fridays because, everybody else would look forward to Friday, but I would dread
Mm.
Friday because that's when all the, that's when all of the direct deposits would go out. And so, yeah, I would be like, I remember driving into work and I'd be like, what the hell am I going to run into today? Because it was always something. And this person had missed something. And so anyway, I went in and it was a big shit show from like start. I mean, as soon as I walked in the door, it was a big mess. And so anyway, it took most of the morning to get that done. And we had to pull back the deposits and then reissue deposits. And I personally had to drive across town and go meet with some high level people in that organization. I mean, it was just always something, man. So crazy times.
And it's safe to say, I mean, because you obviously you did transition to trading, and like this just wasn't a career you were super passionate about. That's what it sounds like to me. This is something you were doing. And how many years did you do kind of that financial payroll thing?
For that organization, 1 year.
That was it. That was
was it, man. Oh yeah, that was it, man. Because I can't tell you how many gray hairs that I got from there. And they were talking about moving the office, and I was like, you know what? There's got to be a better way. And I'd traded for a really long, like, not traded options, but I had traded commons for 14 years, pretty much on the side prior to joining Black Box. And then so I just was like, you know what? I've got to. It's either going to be me going to another job, or I'm going to, go do something on my own. And that's just kind of how I ran into Black Box.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a story that a lot of people out there are probably going through the same thing and can relate. Like we have to have money, right? It's just how it is. We have to do jobs, and most of us aren't wealthy. Most of us don't come from wealthy backgrounds. And even if we do, it doesn't mean that we don't have to do anything. So we're in this paradigm in our culture where we have to have money. We have to go to these jobs, and we might want to change something, but it's scary to think about changing jobs, period. But especially going from, you had insurance back in those days. You know what I mean? You had the 401k. You probably had a pretty good salary. I mean, to transition from that into the idea of a full-time trading, which I know a lot of people want to do, man, that's just a terrifying prospect for a lot of people. If
and
you're not just
honestly, it's very scary for me. And there was years where I postponed doing anything. Yeah, I mean years.
Yeah.
There were years I postponed doing anything because of that fear. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah. So something happened though, where you got to the point where you were like, this is the time. So what, even before that, like, where'd you grow up? What was young Kang about? I want to add some more stuff to this, and then I want to get that Black Box story for sure. But like, so college, before college, whatever you're comfortable telling us, what was teenage Kang like? We got to know.
I was geeky in high school, man. Not so much like in the tech, like that we're talking about the late 90s here, like high school for me.
Oh man.
Yeah, like I was, I had glasses and, but there was like a phase where I'd be sporting the Hawaiian shirts, man.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with glasses, Kang.
There you go. No, but I mean, not saying
there are millions of us out there. So wait, so you weren't like the most fashionable man in the land, is what you're saying?
Not at all, man. But but I was content, man. I was content in my skin, man. I still wear glasses. But yeah, no, content, man, content.
So tell us how to do that. How was a lot of people, like when you ask them about, I like to ask everybody what was high school like? What was it like? And 80% of the time they hated it and they were not content. You know what I mean? They were posing this way. They were trying to do that. They're trying to be this celebrity. They're trying whatever. So what's that about? How did you find contentness as a young teen?
I would say that I kind of had the the similar feeling like toward the beginning of high school. It's like who you gonna fit in with, wanting that sense of belonging maybe to a certain group. We used to call them cliques back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to fit in with a certain group of people. But then, and this is, I just had to get to I got to a certain point where I just said, fuck it. Pure and simple, really,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, we're all different. But, and this took me a while to kind of grasp onto in those first couple of years, but it's like that the differentness, for lack of a better word, or uniqueness of us is what makes us special. And not to get in like a Hallmark, moment here, but it's just, you get to a certain point where you try to do those certain things and, people want you to fit in and people want you to conform to a certain, thing or whatever. And it's just like there's certain freedom when you just get to the point where you just say, fuck it. And so I had my group of friends. We were all just kind of that same way. But, still, not to the point where you don't have like, still have respect for authority and stuff like that. I was in ROTC all 4 years of high school and enjoyed that. And that's what eventually led to me going into the military. But no, right. I would say latter part of sophomore year and into the rest of high school, it's like, man, I'd stroll up in there in my Hawaiian shirt, because that's what I like. But if you didn't like it, hey, whatever, But no, man, and there's just I guess there's a certain freedom, feeling that way.
There entirely is, and I'll tell you, I didn't find that myself until my probably late 20s, early 30s. I know back you're talking 10th, 11th grade, like I definitely didn't have that. I still had those fears and those kind of ways of just worrying about what I thought everybody was, going to look at me or think about me in a bad way. And the truth is nobody cares. Nobody noticed. Most people don't notice anything except themselves. So what got you past that fear at such a young age? Like that's an interesting mindset to have as a young teenager, because the teenage years are a huge mix of disaster and everything else for a lot of people. So was there any specific thing, or did you just kind of wake up and just say, yeah, man, I feel good?
There was this lady I was digging on, and she thought that, and I had this crush, man. I had this crush. We all know how that is, at a younger age. And so I remember trying to get her attention and, this, that, and the third. But anyway, long story short, I finally got up the guts to go talk to her one day.
Yeah.
And I was like, we were just kind of talking, and through the evolution of that conversation, she was like, no, she was like, I like boom, 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 about you or whatever. She was like, I've seen you, checking me out before. Why didn't you come over here sooner? And it turned out that none of those things that I thought were important, like you said, no, but I've realized that she didn't pay attention to those things. So it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it was like a lightning strike moment or nothing like that, but that kind of got the ball rolling to be like, man, I don't even have to worry about these things.
Just be yourself.
There you go.
Just be yourself. Somebody's going to dig it. Oh man. So, yeah, that's just an interesting mindset for, a typical 10th grader in the late 90s. I was in high school in the same time pretty much. And it was a crazy time. I mean, doesn't it in some ways, do you kind of feel like 1998 is not that long ago, and then you see a calendar and you realize it's been decades? How do you deal with that?
Look, man, I was just thinking about this the other day, and I know that there's probably some people in this that are like, man, y'all are old as fuck.
Yeah, I know it. That's true.
Yeah. But you know what, man? There's still, and I bet you probably identify with this too. There's still sometimes where, whether it be on TV or just talking to somebody or whatever, and they're like, 20 years ago, da 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 da. Look, my mind is still, when I hear 20 years ago, now this is going to sound crazy, but when I hear 20 years ago, man, I think of the 70s. Like I still think about, or 30 years ago, I'm thinking about the 60s. But I have to sometimes, recalibrate things and be like, No, 30 years ago was the 90s, and then that's when I just started feeling old. But I'm like, it is what it is, time don't stop. But sometimes I have to do those, stop. Wait a minute, hold on, let me think about this for a minute. But no, man, it's
Yeah.
it definitely yeah, the 90s don't seem like that long ago, but in some ways it does, in some ways it doesn't.
I like how the 90s have become really the 90s have become fashionable, right? People, the 90s are cool. So like, what did you listen to in the 90s? What was your favorite kind of music?
I would
But
say
because we
almost
got it,
everything. No,
oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was
No,
going to
you're
say,
fine.
because people have told me one of the reasons they really admire what you do as a moderator is the music you play at the end of, you know, the day in Discord. That people really like that. People, I think it's a release for some people. It's people are digging that. So I'd like to know about that too. But what were you listening to in 1998?
98, man. Really, if there's one thing for me personally that I love is music. Now I like some kind of, I would say though that the only genre that I don't really allow, now don't get me wrong, I'll listen to it, but
Mhm.
it's got to be like classic. It's like country. Now I listen to some
Yeah.
country, but it's got to be like some classic country, like
Right.
back in the day. But other than that, I'm pretty much, oh, and like, that kind of the only other kind of music I really don't really listen to that much. Even back then, during that grunge phase, that everybody's kind of going through, is that like hollering, where it's like, oh, and you can't. They're saying something, but you can't understand because it's like guitars and just yelling and stuff. I really, some people like that. Hey, but other than that, me, I'm very universal. I listen to classical, opera. So back then, same thing: classical, opera, R&B, hip hop, rap. Um, Classic rock, you name it, man. Like I probably have listened to it, unless it's like I said, unless it's like that really like super heavy metal stuff, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
somebody lost their trailer or whatever. I just can't, identify with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're right. It's phenomenal that the 90s were so long ago, and people say 20 years ago. I'm with you. You don't think of, I don't know. It's like you have this interior age. It's probably different for everybody, and you always kind of identify as that age. And I don't know. I think for me, it's like 17 or 18. I'm not sure why, but time doesn't slow down, and it only speeds up. And I don't want it to happen. I want it to slow down.
But
You
I'll
get
tell you that, like getting older, the thing I like about getting older is not
Yeah.
struggling, because
Well,
I
no
don't,
doubt,
I
no doubt.
don't miss
Yeah,
struggling in my youth. I do not miss
yeah,
that about youth, is like struggling. So I do not miss that about being younger. But other than that, yeah,
sure.
like hell, even your muscles get conditioned to, because even now, like, it's be like, oh, I can do this, and you go do it or whatever, and you're like, oh, I didn't have that feeling afterward. I wasn't hurting like that afterward. But
Yeah, we sound so old right now. There's no doubt. I used to rock climb. I still do, and it's like I'm still in pretty good shape, but I am physically unable to do anything like what I used to. And it's amazing. You're right. It's like what happens to us. We get older, and even if you stay in good shape, it's just life is different. At 45 than whatever. So
now, River, rock climbing. That's a white people thing,
listen, that's not. I gotta say, for
right? I'm just messing with you, man. I'm just messing with you.
yeah, I mean, I'm in Chattanooga, which is a rock climbing mecca. A lot of people don't know that. It's a huge rock climbing scene, and I'll just tell you, rock climbing was a very white thing in the 90s, in the 2000s. But I'm telling you, it's getting diverse, and it's amazing. There's a lot of women. There's a lot of just everybody you can think of. Rock climbing, I hear what you're saying, but it's getting very diverse, and I think that's a great thing. I think it's an
That's good.
amazing thing. I think it's a great thing that trading is seeing all these superstar female traders. I think that's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. It is awesome.
All right, so you did your thing in your Hawaiian shirt. shamelessly in high school, and you joined the Army. And thank you for that, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Then you went to college and you did your job in the financial sector. And one thing you said, I wanted to circle around to that. Um, do you think people generally have an unrealistic idea of money currently? What do you think about that?
You know what? I think it all depends on them. Like, that's the thing. I really think that just depends on the individual. Upbringing. Um, you know, Money. What I've learned having worked in the financial sector for so long in different capacities, we all as individuals have different concepts of money, and that as such, and I'm no psychologist, but just from my time, um, you know, around the sun, I just have seen how people, to some people, money is very abstract. To other people, it's very, very real, in their face 24/7. Some people have a scarcity mindset. Others are, you know, I don't know. It's one of those things that will elicit the most primal of,
Hmm.
I guess what I'm trying to say is the most basic of, responses and or emotions. So really,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
think I really think that's based on the individual. Really, it's because I mean, somebody's upbringing and everything. Money affects a lot of different parts of our lives, at a lot of different stages of our lives. So I just really think that depends on the individual. And even here, like in Black Box from my time, um, I don't do as many now, but back in the day, I've, as throughout my time here, I've done a lot of one-on-ones, when people will come and say, well, hey, I don't feel comfortable talking about this in a group setting, and you'll just, part of it is talking about, hey, what can you do different, or kind of holding up the mirror and saying, hey, this is just a different way to look at it. But then also you hear about those emotions, and how they're dealing with either the lack of, or the, hey, what do I do with all this? What am I going to do with, or how do I condition myself to get used to this money, and so on and so forth. So I don't know. I just think that's a very individual reaction, or
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
response to money.
Yeah, I wonder if that fear you talk about, it elicits this real primal fear, which is it's entirely true. I'm no psychologist either, but I wonder if that's because that's, back in the day we survived by getting food and water and shelter, and we went out and we hunted, or we got the things we needed, and those of us who succeeded lived, and the rest of us didn't. We still have that evolutionary past. I wonder if we associate getting money with survival in our current system. I bet there's something to that for sure.
I think so too, but then I also think that it has to do with social norms. I think
Yeah.
one of the things that, and this may be taken a little bit too far back, but in my career, one of the places that I worked for several years was at a consumer credit counseling service.
Oh
And
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so I would hear people, call in regularly, and you could tell we would have both in-person counseling sessions, and we would have also telephone counseling sessions, and you would hear like the despair, that some people would be
Mm.
in when they would be coming to us, like sometimes at their lowest points, financially. And so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that social, from a, whether it's right or wrong, I can only speak from one side of the gender pool, but I would just say, like, from, a man, you sometimes, like, you want to feel like you're able to provide, for your family. And, sometimes money is maybe going off on a tangent, but, sometimes money is, if that lacks, or if you're at a low point, or let's say you're in between jobs, or if you don't have enough money at that in particular, point in time, maybe you feel like, for lack of a better, way to say it, maybe you feel like less of a man because you're you have lesser money, and therefore maybe you're not able to provide at that moment. So I think that it's not just about, there are certain things, but then there's also like these social and maybe gender norms and all. I mean, like I said, money, I think, encompasses like the mind portion of it encompasses like a lot of different facets.
That's not a tangent. I think I think you just veered into a key thing that is part of it. I think that fear, and not just men, but I mean anybody who feels the need to provide for someone else. And again, they're not wealthy. They're not made of money. They're developing their trading skills and they want to go full time, but they've got that hesitation. I think what you just said is a huge part of why a lot of people never really commit, because money is somehow related to our survival. That might be tying into our evolutionary fears. And like you said, social expectations. And I think was that a fear with you? You said you had children before you were full-time trading, correct? If I'm correct about that.
Yeah. But
was
it
that
wasn't
a fear for you at the time?
Well, it's always in the back of your mind as far as like, at least for me, it was stepping out and not. I think more though than that was just the fear of the unknown. Because to your point, you kind of touched on this earlier. You go to a 9 to 5. As freeing, I'll put it to you this way: as freeing as it sounds to wake up in the morning and do what you want to do, or make your own schedule, there is still that, at least for me, there was a huge fear of the unknown, because at least in a 9 to 5, you have the one thing that you have is you have a routine, right? You're going to deal with all this bullshit, but you also have a routine. So you wake up in the morning, you're doing your routine in the morning to get ready. I would always, I'd be in there ironing, putting on my tie, and then, you sit in traffic, go to work, and then you start dealing with these things. But to your point, you earn that paycheck, and even the paycheck, unless you work on commission or different things like that, if I was on salary. So unless I was, at the end of the year when we were getting a raise, I was just used to the same amount of pay. I knew kind of what I was going to deal with. It's kind of like the devil that versus the one that you don't.
Right. That's exactly right. You know what bad stuff is coming. And I imagine, because I don't do it full time, when you're full-time trading and it's all on the line and you don't know what's going to come. That's different. The devil, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. And the paycheck is going to be there 2 weeks from now or a month from now.
Yeah.
And the insurance is there if you get sick. We got people getting sick. People need insurance. It's fundamental fears that those are all at play. There's no doubt about it. And consumer credit counseling services, that had to have been a pretty stressful thing. You said you saw people in financial just dire straits, and like people are suffering out there financially to this day. I mean, I know we got a lot of things are looking up for a lot of people, but there's still a huge segment of our populace that just aren't getting by as well as they would like to. And that would have to be a very terrible job, I would imagine, to be in consumer credit counseling. I would imagine that would be.
Well, it was rough from two parts, both internally and then externally. Externally meaning that you hear these things that people, because the company that I work for, it started off here locally, but over time, I want to say it started back in like the 50s or maybe early 60s, but then over time, as it evolved, they grew from just being here in the Atlanta metro, and then it branched out into offices over the southeast. But then by the time that I had got there, they had transitioned to nationwide. So we would have people calling from all over the place, and they would do. This was back. I got hired on there in 2010, so it's back 2010. I worked there from 2010 to 14, and so it was really interesting though externally, because like I said, you would hear these people who would call in and they were needing help with there was a part of the law back then that said, and I think it's still in effect now, but in order to file bankruptcy, you had to get financial counseling. So people would call us for that. And as part of that, they had to lay out like pretty much put their entire financial affairs out, on the table and say, here's what's going on. And they had to get a budget and all this. Anyway, then we would have people who would be trying to buy a home for the first time. So they would go through counseling and they would have a deal with their mortgage servicer where they would get so many points off the loan if they had went through this education. But then the piece that I worked in was where people would have a lot of credit card debt, and they would call us. And so we would deal with my department. We would deal with them. I managed staff that would deal with them pretty much on a monthly basis. And so you would hear them when they first came in, calling and saying, here's what I'm going through. And then, we sometimes would have people, the average, I'd say, time that people were on a plan was, like 3 to 5 years. They were paying off this debt. And so we would deal with them we talked to them every single month, and so we would hear different struggles. But internally, it was rough because the company was, as far as their business model, ran very counter-cyclical to the overall economy. So, of course, in 2008, 2009, the demand for services was huge. And even in 2010, the demand was still there. But as the economy got better, and so I was part of that wave that got hired on when they were, really having to ramp up to meet demand. But as the economy got better, the need for services there started to trail off. So I want to say I was there about 7 or 8 months, and they started doing layoffs. And so, so then the economy is good, then, but it wasn't like super good. So it's like, man, if I get laid off, it's going to be hard to find something else. But for me, I was kind of lucky. I was in a department that was really, core to the revenue and, operation. And so, but, so I got hired on in 2010. Like I said, about 6, 7 months, they started having layoffs. And after that, they would reevaluate, and they would have layoffs about every 6 months after that. And so for me, like the first one was kind of a shock because that was the biggest. And then the second one was a shock. I'd been there for almost about a little over a year at that time. That one was kind of shock. And so each one was, it's like you have this specter that's constantly out there, that could, and so you're growing, getting used to these people that you work with, but then constantly about every 6 months, you're reminded that this possibility is out there. And so like I said, I made it to the end of 2014. And so my rotation finally, or my number got drawn, and it was there right before Christmas then at the end of 2014.
Wow. And you got laid off?
Yep.
Were you involved in laying people off before that? Were you like in that kind of managerial side of it?
Yes, not on the, hey, picking the people,
right?
Because that was above. I was, mid-level management.
So you
So
had
that
to tell
came
the
from
people.
above. But yeah, I had to conduct those sessions with HR and do all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's got to be. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a stress-free job at all. That's tough. People lose their jobs, and you have to, be the one to give them the news. You've been maybe even working with them, etc. And then they came for you, and that was 2014. And was that the point when you said, I'm going to, instead of looking for another gig, I'm going to really explore this trading possibility?
No, after that. So after that, it was, I still was trading then, like, just kind of off to the side.
Yeah.
Commons.
Mm-hmm.
But no, after that, I went to commercial real estate. Still in a financial capacity, but I still stayed with the 9 to 5 and moved on to commercial real estate. So I moved over there and started working in that capacity.
Gotcha. What? Speaking of real estate, I've got friends who like invest in real estate. I don't know how it is in your neck of the woods, but what's the deal with real estate? Is it going to calm down anytime soon, or is it just insane everywhere? Is that still a thing? Because it's crazy around here. I can't believe it.
Oh, man, it's crazy around here too. And I thought, the housing boom prior to 2008 was crazy. This is really,
Mhm.
it's houses selling in, a few days here. It's crazy. And then even what they're doing around here is they're taking like older houses that have some land, and then they're buying whoever that is out and building a whole bunch of houses. They'll put them right next to each other, put a whole bunch of houses on that same, like row houses pretty much on like a little tract of land. So it's crazy.
Yeah, right.
I think it's purely it's the old supply and demand thing, but then also really the market got super overheated because we've had interest rates that have been low for so long. But I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I don't necessarily know that I don't think it's going to go away overnight, but I think that as the Fed starts to raise rates, then maybe that'll put some of the brakes. And we've seen like some recent home data, or some of the recent data that comes out every month, that's been kind of slowing down. But I mean, I don't know, the way that I know that we've gotten conditioned to look at rates, near zero, and we're like, man,
Yeah,
2%
yeah.
or 3%, that's
Yeah,
high,
right.
but it's like, man, I remember when I bought my first house and I thought 6% was good.
Oh yeah, yeah. My first one was like five something. So yeah. I remember, and that goes back to our that question about, do we have kind of unrealistic ideas of money? Like, we get students in the university who are coming through our programs, and they're just they expect to make six figures when they get out, with a bachelor's degree. And I teach liberal arts. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. And like this whole kind of, I know it's just because we're old, probably, but like I've got friends who are in their 20s buying their first house, and they're nice houses, but they're not mansions or anything. And they're paying 380, 375, 380K for kind of a nice residential house, and it just blows me away. I remember when you could get an amazing house for 200 grand in Southeast Tennessee, and it blows me away. We have this everything is inflated, pardon the pun, but there's something where we seem to have a societal expectation that, of course, we're going to be wealthy one day. And some people, I think, are taking that for granted. I don't know. I see that all over the place, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. Hell, you made me think about my first job. I think it was I think it was 575. I think that was minimum wage
Oh yeah,
back then.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
think it was
remember 420.
575.
Yeah, I remember 425 in 1991. I do remember that. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, like by the late 90s, I think it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, it could have been 525, but I think it was like, if I had to put money on it, I'd say like 575. And I remember
yeah,
getting hired at that, and you work 2 weeks, and you know how
yeah.
the government is, they take their money out or whatever. But it's like I thought, man, at my first job, I thought I was making good. You get a check come out with like $600, and I'm like, man,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
doing good.
yeah.
I'm doing good.
You feel rich.
Oh
Another
yeah.
thing too. I like this theme of we're old. Let's talk about being old. I got a lot of friends with kids that are around 15 and 16. When you were 15, Kang, how much did you want to get your license and drive a car?
It was a rite of passage. And I was
They
actually
don't.
talking about this over Christmas with somebody. It
Okay.
was a rite of passage, man. I couldn't wait.
It was the only thing. I got my license on my 16th birthday. Like a lot of kids that age, they don't want to drive. They don't care about it.
Well, no, like, and it kind of blows my mind. But at the same time, like, and I didn't even think about this, but I think the internet has done a lot, you know,
Mm.
personally with that. Like, back in the day, if you think about it, like I was sitting with some extended family over Christmas, and I'd never really thought about this, but they have their son and my oldest are about the same age. And so, so they're kind of in the same phase of life or whatever. And I was like, is your son, are they looking forward to driving? Because I know my son isn't. And My son isn't really looking forward to it, but then at the same time, he's kind of scared of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but thinking about it back in the day, like for me, and again, I know I sound old when I'm about what I'm about to say, but back then, the place to go, at least around here, was to the mall.
The mall.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, it was to the mall, man. Like, and it, like, again, like you was trying to be
True.
fresh, and
Yeah.
yeah, cruising through the mall. And but now it's like and going to meet friends or whatever. But now you can do so much stuff online.
It's so much
And
more
like,
interesting than
oh
walking
yeah,
through the mall
oh yeah,
to these people. I'm imagining you real quick, like you've got your Hawaiian shirt on and you're cruising. You know when you drive like past the main entrance of the mall and you act like you don't care about anything, but
oh
you
yeah,
remember
man.
that, and you're cruising past the front entrance. What was your first car? What car were you driving?
My my first car was a 1990 Honda Prelude.
Yes, the Prelude.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
man.
yeah,
Oh yeah, man.
yeah. Windows down.
The pop-up
Naughty,
lights, man, couldn't tell me nothing, man. Couldn't tell me nothing.
naughty by nature on the tape deck. Whatever.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
The
Couldn't
mall,
say
man. No,
anything.
I think it might be safe to say the average 16-year-old views going to the mall to just walk around and hang out as one of the most boring things you could do. I don't think they're into that.
Yeah, yeah. Probably not now. Probably not now. But back then, that was the thing. That was the thing. And so, and then like I remember, funny thing you asked about that. So like, and then I remember I came home. I wanted. There was a point where I wanted like some, because like again, the thing back in the day
Yeah,
was to
yeah.
have like here, the status symbol. And I know this is going to sound quirky now. Every school is different. But the thing to do was in the morning, to have a Chick-fil-A cup, like those
Okay. Okay.
those styrofoam cups. That was
Yeah.
a thing. Like that was a status symbol if you went to Chick-fil-A in the morning. And again, as an
Oh,
adult now,
okay.
I'm like, what the hell. But
Yeah.
then after
Flexing.
school it was to go to the mall, and be in the mall, but to be in the mall cruising around in like Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh yeah, the
And
expensive stuff. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and my mom was like, and I remember coming home and I was like, Mom, can I because I was working, not like full time or anything going to school, but
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
working my few hours or whatever, and I was like, I'm looking at my money and I'm like, all right, I got some money here, but I remember going home and asking my mom, I was like, Mom, I want to get some clothes like this, and she was like, them damn clothes are too expensive. I am not giving you no damn money for them clothes.
$60 blue jeans. No,
I'm
you're
telling
not
you,
gonna do
man,
it.
no, no,
Why
no.
did why did we
And this is pre-inflation. This is pre-inflation, man. That was a lot back then. $60
that's
was a lot.
that's 60 $1994. That's like $500 right now.
It was a lot, man. It was a lot.
Why did we wear so much cologne back then?
Oh man, I don't know, but look, I can
Polo?
tell
What'd you
you.
wear? Did you wear
Oh
polo?
man, look, man, look. I had a
You wore
repertoire.
polo.
I had a
Okay.
repertoire, man.
You had
I had
a slide out drawer with some
yes.
polo and some CK1. Let me guess. What else did you
Didn't
have?
have no, I didn't have no CK. And
Okay.
I didn't go no. And I know somebody out there is probably saying Drakkar Noir. No, man, I never had
Ricard, that was good stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
that.
Obsession. Did you have the obsession?
I had Cool Water.
Oh man, how could I forget
Cool,
cool water?
yeah, man. Cool Water, the '90s, man. Cool Water had to have that, man. I think I had that. There was some kids
Everybody,
with.
everybody, make cool water Kang memes. Make cool water Kang memes and post them on Discord in the next 24 hours. We got
Man, you walking around smelling like Cool Water, man. You thought you was
a
the
lot,
shit.
a lot of cool water, like too much. Like, had like a cool lake. You had like a cool ocean poured down your open Abercrombie shirt.
There you go, man. And they like, and then the other one, my other two favorites was like Curve and
Oh yeah, yeah, that's all right.
was it Curve and there was this other called Fahrenheit, man. And look, I ain't
Yeah,
never told anybody else this,
yeah.
but
Here it
look,
is. This is
I'll
it.
confide in you, man. Yeah, I'll confide in
Riverside Chats exclusive.
you. There you go.
Let's have it.
Look, man, in my teenage mind, right?
Yes.
In my teenage mind, there was this
Mm.
commercial that came on never forget it. And it was like Fahrenheit has these like pheromones in it or whatever. Y'all old school, people know what I'm talking about. It
It was
had
like
these
Axe.
like,
It's like Axe body spray. Yeah.
well, I don't know about that because Axe might scare the ladies away, right? But this
It's
was
supposed to
made
have.
to,
Yeah.
yeah. It's supposed to like, yeah, that same, vibe or whatever. It's like, but this
Mm-hmm.
kind of was like, oh, it's got these pheromones in it. They're like scientifically proven to turn on the opposite sex, whatever. Late '90s. I'm in my teenage years or whatever. You trying to get the ladies or whatever, and it's like,
You might.
man, that's all you had to tell me. I went and got me a bottle. It's
Oh,
like,
you got. Yeah. You got pheromones for sale at the mall. Let me get in my Prelude and put my hat
hell
backwards.
yeah, man. And the
Let me grab my
lady's gonna
pager.
be here. Yeah. Oh yeah. And the lady's gonna
Did,
be right here. But it didn't
did it
work,
work?
man.
Did it work? Yeah, that's what.
No. Marketing got me. Marketing got me.
Man, yeah, that's the. I tell you, '90s cologne. It's that stuff is still around. Drakkar is still around to this day. Obsession is '90s cologne is just a whole. If you were there, I don't think it's just a '90s guy thing because I bet the '90s girls were aware of it because they hated it. I bet they hated the fact that everybody was just, awash in this stuff that you could smell for 30 feet away. But that's the pheromones. You can't blame us, right?
But you wear that now. You wear that now. Either you might get like looked at crazy, or I bet there's like sugar daddies
Yeah.
out there that are wearing that. Like it's just what they
Put
might have a Kango, a Kango hat on and be
right.
rocking it and paying somebody's rent. But
A Kangol, it smells like cool water factory. There's no doubt. I don't know. Everybody probably thinks it, but it was a good time to be young. It just really was.
it was, man. It was. It was definitely, you know, definitely interesting. I would say too, man. Like I think for me, um, what's just been so interesting over the last, years is like we were the generation, and I think you probably can identify with this too. We're in the same age bracket, but
Mm-hmm.
we grew up as kids without, the internet, and
That's right. That's right.
I didn't have we didn't have none of that. I couldn't even have told you, like when I was a kid, I couldn't even have told you like what a modem was, and I remember
Mm-hmm.
like my
Mm-hmm.
mom being like, get the hell outside, like you're not gonna sit in this house, go
Mm-hmm.
play with some sticks, or something like that. And it was just nothing for, in the summertime or whatever for us to get outside and be going from sun up to sundown. We just had to be in the house by the time the street lights came on. And then I remember in this, kind of part that we're talking about now in the late '90s, it's just like that was when, the internet started to become more prevalent. And you got
Mm-hmm.
bombarded, man, with those. You got bombarded with those AOL CDs, and it's like every other day you get an AOL
Mm.
CD.
That's
And
right. That's right.
the whole thing with dial up and hoping nobody called that would knock you off, and sitting in AOL Instant Messenger and those chat rooms and all that stuff, man. And
Yep. Yep. That
and
was the worst. Somebody call up. That was the worst. You're chatting away, and
oh
somebody
yeah, man.
calls, knocks you off. Like, no, that's heavy, really. I mean, because for all of human history, we haven't had anything like the internet. Like literally for the entirety of humanity's history. And now that sometime between what we're talking about in the late '90s and now in 2022, the internet is arguably inseparable from human experience. It's, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm not saying the kids nowadays are worse off or better off than we were because we had a pager. I remember when the pagers came out, that was amazing. But it's different now. And if anybody's trying to act like it's not different, like a kid trying to grow up, what if you had access, Kang, to the full broadness of the internet at 13? Don't you think it would be a lot harder to be 13 in some ways? Because I think it would be.
Probably would be, but it's probably good that I, reflecting back, it's probably good that I didn't have the internet now
Yeah.
that we have now back then, at least in high school, man, because I'd have been I don't know, man.
That cool water would be kicking in.
There you go, man. Yeah, no.
You see all that stuff. Yeah, you'd see
I
all
might
that
have
stuff.
done been to several
Oh,
high
man.
school graduations. Let's just put it that way.
Mm.
Like I would
The
have I would be young with some kids, but no, man. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think it's a whole new world now. Like, I mean, even it's again, time goes by so fast, and I'm talking with my oldest now. He's about to be 15,
mm,
and it's just like some of the things that they, are so used to now. It's like one time he was asking me about video games, and I was like, man, it seems like yesterday. I remember the first time for Christmas I got the first. I remember like before that playing like somebody's old Atari or whatever. But like the
yeah, right.
first thing that I was given was like
Mm,
the first,
mm.
and I remember if somebody walked across the floor
Man,
to like if somebody had the heavy feet and they was walking across the floor, close to that thing, it would make it skip. So I would get pissed off as a
yeah,
kid, like, don't
yeah,
be going anywhere near there. Like, I hope the damn we didn't have no generator or nothing. So it's like, I hope the damn power don't go off.
yeah.
It's like all these different things. It's like it blows my son's mind now if I say like we couldn't even save a game back then. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, man, if you
Yeah, yeah.
like were trying to start a game, you had to make a commitment,
That's
you
right.
know.
That's right. And when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out, the NES, that first Nintendo, that was like a paradigm shifting thing. And then when the Legend of Zelda came out, remember that? It had the gold cartridge and it had an internal battery and you could save your game. Like that was the first thing you could save your game on. And our heads exploded. We thought, Valhalla had erupted and our lives were perfect now. Just because you could save a game. No, I mean, my daughter plays video games too, and like, I'll sometimes fire up the old ones, and she's just bored by them. You know what I mean? She's like, "Oh, that's cool," and then she gets out, these amazing graphics that we never had. But yeah, I mean, the Nintendo was something else.
But too, man, I think too we're like internet veterans, and I say this because like, look, man, it was like Wild West back then, and I'm not talking about like
Oh
DOS
yeah,
or anything crazy. I still remember the first time I was at like our
yeah,
school got like Windows 95, and everybody was like, "Oh my God!" But
it's the future. It's
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, we were like,
future.
"Oh my God," and now you look at that and it's antiquated. But going back to, I just thought about something you said, like going back to the whole AOL days, man. It's like, nowadays, let's say that I just thought about this. Let's say you're, vibing with somebody online or whatever. Like, you can do all these reverse searches. They give you their telephone number. You can find out all this information. You can Google,
Mm,
information, try to find stuff about them. Hell,
man.
you talking to somebody in one of them chat rooms back in the day, and they send that you think it's like somebody you might want to go have dinner with or whatever, and it could be like some man that's trying to drive up in a white van, and then you don't know where you are for several hours. It's like crazy,
Oh
man.
man.
You didn't know what was going on back then.
You're right. The that first part of it you're talking about now, that stalking stuff, man, is some people are out of control. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, remember how long it took for a picture to load in like AOL? If somebody wanted to like open up just a picture of anything, remember how long it would take the pictures to just pixelate on the screen?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, because it's funny you said that because and look, I don't consider myself like super like superficial person, but
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
made me think about something. I remember this me and this chick was talking one time, and like again, it's like I don't know, like I think she was local here or whatever. But again, all I remember is she went to go send me you're talking with them, you're connecting, talking about things you like or whatever. I think
Mm,
I'd been online talking in this chat room for like,
mm,
several hours. And yeah, the pictures, like I was like, hey, you get to that point in the conversation where it's like you might want to exchange photos. And I'm not talking about nothing salacious, just a headshot, just to see what you look like or whatever.
just a
And it's
Hawaiian
like,
shirt. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, man, just to see, just to see what's going on. And I remember like having to sit there and this picture starts coming through. And it's like the pixelated version. And look, I ain't trying to be mean or whatever, but the pixelated version was like, okay. But then it's like, as the definition started coming through, I'm like, oh God.
You don't want no HD, man. You don't want no HD.
No, man, no.
I don't
So, and
want the
like I
HD
said,
version.
nothing salacious, but it wasn't anything, earth shattering, but it's just like, all right, I'm tired, man. I gotta go to bed.
I've noticed a lot of your stories begin, you were vibing with this person or that person once upon a time. Like, there's a lot of vibing stories.
That's usually how it starts.
You can tell from your avatar, you're here to do stuff. You're a passionate guy. I have had people ask, the lion, people want to know if there's something to that. So we're headed that way, if that's like a random photo or if there's something to that. But that kind of reminds me, but no, we don't want to leave this. This is good stuff. Like, do you remember when MySpace first hit? Do you remember that craze?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember MySpace. Oh yeah.
I think something about MySpace I think that was some kind of a shift in the internet. Something got more about that time is when it got more developed. I don't know. It's what you're talking about, the chat rooms back in the day, AOL, Messenger, all that early stuff. I think somewhere around and I'm no technology historian or anything, but just to me, in my experience, it seems like something about the MySpace time. I don't even know what year that was, but whenever that was, it seems to have started shifting more toward what we have now, where the internet is just a big part of our life. And I don't know, were you into MySpace or did you kind of miss that personally?
You know what? I had a MySpace page, but I had my problems with it because I didn't know anything about HTTP language.
Yeah,
and so
right.
like it forced you to like learn some things. And I was like, this shit is too complicated for me. Like I built like a basic page or whatever. But then I think another issue that I used to have with MySpace is like you go to somebody's page and like they try to customize it with some music. But it's like not only with the music like keep playing like over and over and over. So like if you're on their page for too long, it's like this music like keeps playing. But man, if you had your speakers up at whatever given time and you go click on it, man, it scared the hell out of you.
Yeah.
So that music would be like loud as hell. So I think for those few reasons, and then like I said, you got to learn like some HTTP coding. Like I was like, look, this is too much.
Yeah. It's phenomenal, like the way things have changed from then to now. If you think of that as like just call that X, right? Things have changed X% from then till now, and then take that same percentage and try to imagine, 25 years from now, what is it going to be like? In some ways, that scares me to think, what is going to make our current technology paradigm seem as antiquated as that? That's what kind of scares me thinking about the future with technology.
Oh
What do you
yeah,
think about that?
and well, this whole connected type stuff, and I've said this in the room before, man. I don't even like those speakers that people have in their house, where it's like, hey, and I won't say it because I don't want anybody's
The
thing to go
smart
off or
speakers.
whatever. Yeah.
Right.
I don't put that shit in my house. Like, and I'm
You
not
don't
like I'm not tinfoil hat or nothing like that, but I don't want nobody like listening in on what's going on.
You don't want the robot listening into your singing and stuff as you're going about.
Are you maybe handling your business? You don't want nobody listening to that and some recording wind up in East Russia, somewhere or whatever. No, man.
The mean streets of East Russia is you gotta watch out. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I do have those.
But then you get like some random email and it's like, hey, for you got to sell your house and give us your profits. Otherwise, we're going to send you shagging the old lady audio to all of your closest associates. You don't need that.
Now you're making me paranoid now because I've got smart speakers like all over. My smart speakers.
River, man, they got all the stuff going on in your house, man.
Well, I tell you what, it's privacy is a concern, but at least I have a pretty boring situation. So no Alexa, no no smart speakers. Do you like cars with like no? I know we talked about the '59 Caddy online. I know you like classic cars. I do too. You know how smart keys? Are you a smart key fan, or do you like to put the key into the ignition and twist it? Because I'm sold on the smart key. I'll tell you, I got to have the smart key. I like it.
I like that, but I don't have a
Nice.
vehicle new enough that has one.
Well, that's interesting. All right. All right.
Yeah, I don't have.
Are you
I
driving
want to.
classic stuff, or
No,
you still got
like
the
my
you still
new,
got the
the
Prelude?
newest, the new.
So
I
wouldn't
don't
you
know where
love to
that thing is.
have? Wouldn't you love to have your high school car back? To wouldn't you pay a lot of
No,
money if
because
you could?
no, I was glad to get rid of that thing.
Oh, I got you.
I
I
was
got you.
glad. Yeah.
So are you
I mean, it
driving
was
classic cars?
no, 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 no. So
Gotcha.
the
Gotcha.
vehicle that I drive is like 20, I mean, it's a 2000, but
Mm.
I find myself not really in need of like. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. Now my wife has a newer vehicle, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Mm.
like brand new. But we just don't. I don't know. There's not really a need to have like the most recent thing. I mean, I used to be that way, but
Yeah.
you buy something new and it's like, all right, in 4 or 5 years, it's like, all right, now this shit's already outdated. And but I
Yeah.
still got a payment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
I still got a payment. But the stuff that's older to me, it's like, even though now, I wouldn't, it wouldn't be a thought, to have a car payment. But it's just like, what's the point? I don't really see
Yeah.
the need to. I don't know. I just don't really. People want, people have all kind of reasons for buying a new car, but I
Mm.
think for me now, it's more so about like the utility. Number one, so I got to have something that isn't made anymore. But then also, it's like stuff that is a little older to me is a lot easier to work on.
Mm.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
I love working on, something myself. And it's just like, there's certain things where I'll be like, look, hell no, I'm not doing that. You got to take that somewhere to get that fixed. But there's other things that I'd say 90% of, doing things, I like to have something that's a little older because again, it's a lot easier to work on.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah. We've got a couple year old cars. I'm kind of with you. I like to pay cash for a car that's going to last a long time. I don't get caught up. It is like the most depreciating asset we could think of, really. If you're talking about
Yes.
a
Yes, it
typical
is.
car. I mean, if you buy that '59 Caddy, which you should, by the way, you should buy it. Um, that's an
I'm on the
investment. You
hunt.
know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's an investment. That's going to go up in value. And but yeah, I mean, if you buy a new, I don't know. I just don't get into the whole. Oh, this brings up something I was going to ask you, get your advice on for sure. But like, I've got a couple friends who have Teslas, and I mean, they've let me drive it. They're super nice. There's no doubt about it. I've got friends who have really nice cars, and I just don't care. I mean, I'm not dissing anybody who does care, but for me, I'm with you. It's just kind of a thing to drive around. I want it to be safe. I want it to start when I push the button, But I never need more than like a $30,000 car. That's just me. I don't want to invest in that thing that's going to immediately go downhill. And I don't know. I'm a
Yeah,
bad
no, I'm
car.
with you. No, I'm
I
with
don't
you.
want
I'm
to
with
be.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a thing. And okay, so here's the thing. I trade part-time. I'm trading more often. I trade pretty actively and I love it. And it's a great thing that I've got going on. But I'm not like generally, I'm not heavily motivated by money. Do you think that's ultimately good or bad for my trading endeavors if I wanted to ramp them up, for reasons of various reasons, but not necessarily for money? What do you think about a trader who wants to trade more actively and who isn't really motivated by money? Is that weird, or what do you think about that?
Well, and really quickly, I kind of add to what we were just talking about too before I
Yeah,
get to that.
yeah.
I would say too, there's another, I can drive I have a 68 Ford truck, and
Oh
it's got the
yeah,
old
nice,
school like three on the
nice.
tree,
Yeah,
so it's
definitely.
the
That's
column
right.
shift.
Yes.
Uh, I think that right now is like the biggest like anti-theft device. I think I
Nobody
would
can
love,
drive that. Yeah.
no, I would love to see somebody try to get in there. I mean, outside of some
Yeah.
of these, like, folks that know what's going on,
Yeah.
but I would love to go somewhere, and be like, have a sign that says "Steal me,"
Yeah.
but you can't use a wrecker. And
Yeah.
like, I would leave the door unlocked and just see if, and leave the key in the ignition to see if somebody
Give
could
it a key.
drive it.
Most
Like in those
people,
old cars, you got to go through a routine just to get the thing started with a carburetor too. So,
that's right. You got to prime the pump. They don't know
there
what
you
that
go.
is.
There you go.
A lot of people can't even drive a 5-speed Accord. I mean, forget 3 on the tree.
Yeah.
My first car, it was an old pile of garbage. It was definitely a 4-speed manual, and my parents were like, you just got to learn to drive this. And I'm glad, man. To this day, I'm glad I had to do that, because I mean, I can basically drive anything at this point. And
Well, that's how it was for me too with the Honda. My grandfather was the one that bought it for me, and I really wanted it. I liked it and everything, but it was a 5-speed. And he was
mm,
like, "Look, if I'm buying it and I put my money behind it," and it was a really good deal. He was like, "If I'm buying it and I put my money behind it, like, I don't care if it's automatic or a stick or not, you're gonna have to learn it." So we went out to like a big parking lot and spent an afternoon, and I got the basics down. But
yeah,
I'm with
yeah,
you, yeah, I'm with you. Um,
yeah. It doesn't take long, and I mean, I've got automatics now. What I mean, I don't want to push the clutch all the time, but I mean, if I have to, I can drive it.
yeah.
So, I'm into it. And the '68 Ford, brother, I don't want to skip over that. I love those old late '60s Ford trucks. I've heard you can fix almost anything really easily in that engine. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah, you can. Yeah, I mean, it just all depends on your level of patience because there's going to be a lot of cussing, depending upon what you do. But and you're probably
Yeah.
going to swear, but you kind of cool off and don't try to force, whatever it is. Take it, sleep it off overnight and then come back. And I found that that's always, a good remedy to help move the project forward. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love I
Totally.
love old stuff like that. I mean, they don't make it. There's no computer whatsoever. There's nothing
Yeah.
electronic on the truck at all. It's all
Oh
mechanical.
yeah. 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 Well, what else you got? You got anything else? I love old cars, man. I could just
You got to uh, have a
what
62. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, nothing. So 62. We got the Ford.
62 Chevy van,
Mm.
uh, 74, another F100 extended cab, a 75 F250 extended cab,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
72 Cadillac hearse, 63 Cadillac hearse.
Wait.
Uh,
Hearse?
yeah, I've got two hearses. Yeah.
Oh man, like a hearse from the '60s too. I'd like to see that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, 63 and then a 72. And then the last thing that I have now, that the most recent addition, was a 64 uh, Coupe de Ville. No, that's
Oh,
sorry,
nice.
Sedan de Ville, but four door.
Yeah, nice. That thing, how much does that weigh? Those things are so heavy. I wonder
Oh
how much
yeah,
that
man, you're talking
weighs.
about like 8,000 pounds, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Oh man, if
yeah.
you could only choose one, because you're going to sell a couple to buy the 59, if you could or to make space for the 59, uh, if if you could only save one of those, what would you keep? What's your favorite
I would
one?
I would probably say right now the favorite one is that 63 hearse.
Okay.
Only because some people have a morbid view of funeral vehicles or whatever. But really quickly, back in the day, hearses, like, so for funeral homes, hearses used to double as an ambulance. So
Hmm.
a lot of people don't know that. So like
Yeah.
I want to say in the mid 70s, I think early to mid 70s, there was legislation basically saying that there had to be like more, it was more procedural than anything, but had to be more room in emergency vehicles. So that's when Cadillac started phasing out. But before then, going all the way back to the 30s, Cadillacs used to be ambulances and funeral
Hmm.
vehicles.
Okay.
So
Okay.
also there weren't any like we know them today, like ambulance services. Used to, like, a funeral home would be like, if you call like for an ambulance or whatever, you call a funeral home and they would have
Oh,
like a
okay.
ambulance service that would take you to the hospital. So it's long story short, the way that they came from, the fact they're not, they're what they call a commercial chassis. So like from the windshield back,
Yeah.
everything is custom. So from the windshield to the front of the car, everything would be like built at the Cadillac factory. But everything
Mhm.
from the windshield back is custom to however the funeral home ordered it. So that would go to what they call a coach builder. And
Mhm.
so I like it because I just think they're cool. You think about like the
Yeah, yeah.
Ghostbusters car or whatever, I just
I
think
was
they're
about to
cool.
say the Ghostbusters. So that's a hearse ambulance kind of vibe, come to think of it.
Correct. Yeah. But also it's like they're made in very low numbers because
Mm.
again, your only customers are, like funeral homes and the like. But then also just very unique. Like you can go see a Coupe de Ville or Sedan de Ville anywhere, but you don't
Yeah.
really see the old, hearses much anymore. And if you do, I think in the 63 that I bought, I think that there were only, I want to say, looked up the numbers one time. I think there were only like 4,500 made, like 4,000 or
Mm.
4,500 made, and maybe even that's an overshoot, in 63.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not really high production numbers.
I bet it gets a lot of engagement when you drive it around too.
I haven't gotten to that stage yet, but we're getting
Oh,
there.
okay. Gotcha.
We're getting
Gotcha.
there. We're getting there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it when I can get her up and running and moving around.
Yeah, sure, sure. Um, yeah, so I'm curious what you think about, this my kind of I'm just not super motivated by money, but I really am interested in improving my trading. But I'll say this too, I mean, it's long format podcast, often, especially when they're live, I always offer the guests time to take a break. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to take a break for like 3, 4 minutes, something like that. So are you good? Do you want to take a quick
Oh yeah,
break or?
yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay, cool, cool. So what's that about? I mean, virtually everyone I know is trading, um, because they want to make more money, and there's no doubt. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I definitely like the wins. I definitely like the money, but that's not the main motivation I have for it. So, what do you think about my motivation not necessarily being money? Do you think that's good or bad as for my trader development?
I think it can be a good thing, really, because I think that introducing money into your process creates a lot of headaches. Now, there's other people who may disagree, and that's fine. But I personally think that it creates a lot of issues. Again, going back to when we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, the different mindsets, emotions, and all those different things that
Yeah,
present themselves when it comes to money. When you bring that pressure or when you bring those emotions into your trading, then I think that can give you more, even more of a steeper, in mountain to climb up, if that makes sense.
sure. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Personally, I'm not motivated by money. I mean, the money is nice. Don't get me wrong. We all need it to survive. But for me personally, it's something that is kind of a I wouldn't say ancillary because it still is important. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean to make it sound.
mhm,
I'm not trying to, make it sound like money is not important. It is. But for me, where I get the most satisfaction and what I think I'm motivated by is at the beginning, it was learning a new skill. Because it's just
yeah,
like with
yeah,
anything, money or trading is you're learning a different culture and everything like that. But then also it's the challenge. So every single
yes,
day, what
that's right,
motivates me is coming in,
that's
and
right.
now that I've gotten to the point where I feel like I know tickers well, it's coming in and it's, you know, looking at the chart, looking at flow. It's really good when those two things come together. But then also, if I'm just leaning more technically, it's okay, putting together your trading plan and basically putting together this reason for the trade, then of course executing your trade and then managing it, you know, the you know, to its whatever end it manifests itself in.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, I can relate to that well. But like that's the thing. I strive to be more disciplined in my life in many areas. I just have kind of an inner streak of wildness, and it's just how it is. It's always been there. And for me, that's the thing. I mean, I know we need I need a certain amount of money to live and do the things I want to do. But having secured that, I don't feel real motivated to just, amass tons more. So that's what you just said resonates a lot with me, because it's more of like, can I manage these emotions during this trade? Can I successfully follow my exit plan with a Ford option, and then maybe a Visa option, and then maybe a .5 Delta Tesla put. You know what I mean? It's like, as things ramp up, it's just a challenge, and I feel a sense of discipline when I exit properly, or stay in long enough, right? When I don't get out too early. So that's interesting to hear, because there's obviously a lot of focus on cash for trading, which makes perfect sense because there's amazing amounts of money to be had. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel super motivated by trying to trade, 50 contracts instead of 10. For me,
Yeah,
it's the same. It's the same
and I
thing.
was yeah, and I would even say to take that a step to kind of rotate into a different. And again, maybe I'm getting ahead here, but
No, no
I'm
rules. No
I'm
rules.
not even impressed, by money. So
Hmm.
me personally, like, trading is one of those things. Like, look, we were talking about the 9 to 5. It's trading is a very weird world in the fact that when it comes to money, not one time ever in my career did I ever have anybody, come in my office or my cubicle or whatever and say, hey, I made XYZ today. I made this amount of money today, or over the weekend, hey, I sold a vehicle or whatever, and I made X
Yeah,
amount of
yeah,
money today. I never ever ran into that anywhere else. But strange world, here when constantly like in DMs or whatever. And look, hey, I'm happy, definitely happy if somebody's getting it, but it's just like, this is definitely a strange world when you it's like it's completely reversed. Here it's like money doesn't impress me. Like, but I,
mm-hmm.
I would also kind of extrapolate that out and say that, I'm not really impressed by material things. That's just the type of person that I am. But money really is not impressed. What really, to me, what would really impresses me about someone is kind of like the thread that you were in there, and that is that if somebody, you know, puts in the work, they come in, they're it's a new world, it's a new language, it's a new landscape from anything else that they've known. They come in, they put in the work, and they're just, over there knocking it out, and they're hitting the
Yeah,
ground
yeah,
running, and they're getting it in terms of their process, and they have, and over time with that, comes the confidence, it comes the, hey, I can do this, they start to realize along the way that this is feasible. I'm a real boy, I can do this,
yeah.
and it starts to make sense, and kind of all the pieces come together. That to me is what is super impressive. It's not like somebody out on Twitter and saying, hey, I made, 5 grand a day, or I made 10 grand a day. I've never understood that dynamic, but that's just me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that I agree. Seven um, had a really interesting point on that same thing, and he said, in his opinion, I'm paraphrasing, so it may not be entirely correct, but he said that, like, the worst question anybody could ask him is, how many contracts did you just trade? Like, when people want to know what you just said, they want to know, not was it a win, not what was the percentage, not was their exit plan, not how can I learn, to do this better on my own, but how many contracts, man? They just want to know that gain porn or whatever. And he's very, very, you know, fiercely opinionated about that. He definitely thinks that's one of the worst questions anybody ever asks him. And I feel like they ask him that a lot because he was really passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's forest for the trees.
Yeah,
It's
right,
forest. It's
right.
very much forest for the trees. It's like that. I'll just put it to you this way. Back in the day, again, I used to do more one-on-ones. And one of the questions that would be something, how many contracts are you trading here? I would say it's even kind of taking it farther back, when I used to be in the 9 to 5 world, when I felt like I got through that initial, phase of, learning and kind of feeling your way around in the dark sometimes, like trying to learn a new job. Once you felt like you were enough to be dangerous, when I would have a new person come into the department, or when I would be sitting in an interview with somebody, or, trying to look for people to hire, or when I would be, let's say that somebody got transferred over or whatever, if they were new to me, and I felt like I was dangerous enough to do the job, and be effective, I would always, in my mind, I would be sitting there, not necessarily sizing them up, but just evaluating for, I guess the best way I could say is like evaluating for success. Is by the way this person is talking, are they going to be successful or not? And what I've found in trading is people, when you said that about, 7 Star and his reaction, and what they were asking him, I initially thought, I'm like, that takes me back to all these conversations. I mean, hundreds of conversations that I have with people. And it's just, if they're concerned about learning, if they're concerned about, hey, for instance, like, what are you looking at to get in a trade? What are you looking at in the chart to get in a trade? We kind of go through that. And, then they may go through their process. And, when it's trying to get in the weeds and say, hey, how do you get from point A to point B? How do you feel when you're trying to get from point A to point B? Where are some of the pitfalls? Those are things when I'm like, okay, maybe this person is on the right track. But when it's all centered around, hey, how many contracts did you have? How much money? I still, and it blows my mind. I have people DM me and say, how much money do you make? How much, when it's centered, I guess the point that I'm making is when it's all centered around money, I'm like, I don't know if this person's going to make it.
Yeah, not to mention this. I mean, in my opinion, that's rude. Don't ask somebody. In my opinion, you don't. Right? We're from the South.
I agree.
So
I agree. Yeah.
Just don't ask somebody how much money they make. Period. No matter what they do for a living. But yeah, so you get that a lot too. Yes, I mean, I'm definitely hearing that from you guys here. Moderating and doing this. And one of the things here's one of the things you do that impresses me a lot is in the chat in Discord when people ask stuff. People will ask, they'll say whatever. When is the FOMC, right? And you'll post like a market calendar, right? That's your answer to them. Or they'll say, well, what does this mean? And you'll post a link to an educational resource. And like, to me, that's a clear statement from you, even though you're not saying this. I think you're saying you need to learn how to do this to be independent. Is that right? Because that's what I think you're telling people.
I would say from the broad strokes, yes. But but I'll tell you this, I'm very sensitive to the fact that, it may not come across, but I'm very sensitive to the fact that I don't want, and I hope no one, whoever's listening out there, takes away that I'm trying to, shrug them off, or that I'm saying, hey, I don't have time for you, because I've gotten that feedback, and from, not from corporate or anything like that, but just, kind of hearsay. And it's like, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Like, for me personally, I have a passion for trying to help people, because again, I'm always motivated from past experiences and that fear. I've very much experienced that fear of sitting in that office and what if I get laid off? That uncertainty. And different, and there's definitely other experiences too. But where when you ask that question, the first thing that came to mind. So when in the last position that I had prior to coming here, in payroll, I mean, very much an intricate skill to learn, and I have a lot of respect for people who do it. because, again, there's so many different laws and different things you have to know about, Social Security withholding tax, state
Mhm.
taxes, all different, it's very intricate. And so one of the first things that they did, when I got hired on with that company was, um, they would say, you're not going to know everything. This can be very overwhelming. And we understand that as you go along, it's going to be very overwhelming. Now, I got hired into a leadership position, but what they made leadership do is go through all of the training that the frontline staff would go through as well, so that
Yeah.
we would know exactly what was going on with them, which I really like that as well. But when I went through all of that training and then got back here to, our regional office here, it was, here's a folder. This has every contact that you need for each individual department. Here are these
Mhm.
resources. Make sure you study these because this is how you're going to be effective. And so again, the the director over me at the time was like, look, you're not going to know how to do everything from day one, but how you're going to be effective in this job is knowing where your resources are. So that has very much stuck with me. So I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like, to a certain extent, I mean, somebody asks a question and you could rattle it off and tell them real quick. Some things are more involved than others to talk about. But where I really feel like you, I really truly feel like you help somebody is by giving them the resource and saying, here's the resource, here's what it is, go take a look at this. We have all had to study, and read up on different things. And really, I think that if somebody truly cares about doing this, then they'll take the time. They'll save that to, for instance, for that economic calendar, they'll save it to their bookmarks. They'll make it a
Yeah.
habit
That's
to go
right.
check it before they log in, or they'll go read up on whatever a certain, you know, um, concept is and let that sink in. And I just feel like for what I do, that's, some people may see it as, whatever, but I just see that as giving them the resource and saying, here it is. You know, this is going to help you more than just rattling off whatever it is.
Yeah, that's right. The focus is on learning, so people aren't, dependent on following you guys into trades or even trying to follow you out of trades. I know that's the thing that you guys deal with too. But yeah, learning how to do it yourself. Like you're an amazing technical analyst and your charting is amazing. And I want to be able to chart, as good as you one day. I cannot do it, but I want to be able to do that one day. So I want to learn that is how I'm coming at it. And speaking of your charting, how long did it take you to get confident in your charting skills? That particular aspect, charting. How long did that take for you to really feel like you had a good handle on it?
I don't know an exact amount of time, but what I would say is that where I started to feel confident is when, things started to make sense. And I know that sounds kind of stupid, but like, for
Mhm.
instance, like on patterns, um,
Yeah, yeah.
when I was able to look at a chart and say, okay, like, I've drawn these lines. And then I remember one day like trading and it's like, oh, hey, I feel good about this because now I've drawn these lines and now price action in real time is moving up to this area and it's rejecting. Or price action is moving down to this area and is supported. And so it made that over time, it wasn't just, one trading session, but just over time, those repeated, times of drawing those lines or mapping out areas of support and resistance and then seeing, price action react to it. Now, of course, it's not, we know anything with support and resistance is not going to react to the penny,
Yeah,
but
right, right.
when it gets in that general area, and it starts to move around, it's like, wow, like I feel like I'm getting a handle. So like progressively, I think that's where like over time, like confidence will start to build up. And again, that's the reason why, like for me, I have a passion about explaining the why.
Yeah,
So, all too often, and look, I don't knock anybody. I don't know what other people may have going out there. Look, I don't knock anybody. For me personally, I have a passion for, I've always had a passion for, if I know something, if I was blessed to know something, to explain to others, here is to pull the curtain back and to say, okay, I'm not saying I know everything, but hey, from my experiences and I'm able to make some money at this, this is kind of the mechanic, to pull up the hood and say, okay, this is how you put an ignition coil on, and this is how you put new wires on. I feel like there's some people out there that don't want to share the, behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, it's for whatever, motivates each individual person. But I just feel like I have that's the reason why, like, for every almost when I can, if there's, time in the day, if nothing is moving super fast, you mentioned charting. So I like to say, here's the chart. I'll put it in the main chat. Here's the chart. This is what I was looking for. These are the conditions. And hey, it works, or there's plenty of time, hey, it didn't work, but that's just the nature of the business. But I very much like to, kind of what you were saying, I very much like to kind of pull back the curtain and say, okay, here's what's going on. Because I feel like then that, at least when I was brand new in this, it was very much like feeling, through the dark. But, and it just kind of worked out over time, through different things and trying to trial and error and stuff like that, and listening to people in the chat and really trying to absorb, what different people were saying. And then a lot of time reading up on different concepts and indicators and so on and so forth. But I really like to show people, kind of pull back, like I said, pull back those layers and say, here it is.
Yeah, that's the heart of the teacher. It's the heart of a teacher. That's what it seems like you guys have. I mean, you're on voice. I mean, that's what it seems to me. You're teaching people how to do this, and you don't have to. You could just trade, right? You don't have to work at Black Box. You don't have to spend all this time. I mean, to me, I don't know how it feels or how it is, but it sure seems like you've got a 9-to-5 right now at Black Box, on voice, helping us learn this stuff. And I'm really impressed and curious about that, because you don't have to put all this time into Black Box. You could just sit in your house and trade, right? No doubt about it. But yet you're here doing this and doing stuff like this conversation about cool water and everything else on this Saturday afternoon. So I'm just curious, how did you how'd you find Black Box? How'd you hear about it in the first place? What's the very beginning about the Black Box?
For sure. So I remember that I left. I'm just going to give the broader context. I remember I left work on my last day there. They were, like I said, they were going to move the office, and I didn't want to relocate because all my family was here. And so I kind of went into the same, just like when I was laid off in 2014, it's like, all right, let's go to Indeed. Let's go to, all these different websites. Let me try to start looking for a job. And I don't know. Look, I would say that I'd say I'm spiritual. So I think that things happen for a reason. And, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that I do believe in a higher power. And I think that there's, not to take it off on that tangent, but I do, for me personally, I do think that things happen for a reason. And there are times in life where I've wanted to really do something, or I might have wanted something and it didn't work out for whatever reason. And I look back on that years later and I realized that, in the moment I might have been aggravated or pissed off that I didn't get whatever it was, or didn't get whatever opportunity that was. But I'm always someone who tries to look at the silver lining. And so I realized that maybe that happened for a reason, and try to draw the positive, out of it. I think that life is just easier or not, life isn't easy sometimes, but it makes it easier that way by trying to look at the positives. So for me, at the time I was a little aggravated because I couldn't find a job right away. And either, you send your resume, definitely qualified for certain things, but you send your resume into that black hole, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so yeah, so I was looking for something, couldn't really find something right away. Um, and I was very lucky in the fact that I had a lot of support from my wife. Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily not, and I when people always think financial.
Yeah.
I was still able to take care of what I had to take care of, but very much had that motivational support. Like, hey, if you want to do this, I'm behind you 100%. And
Nice.
even at some
Yeah.
points when I was kind of stressing about, like, oh my God, like I'm not making anything right now. But still those, well, hey, I'm behind you, whatever. But I remember being off and thinking to myself, like, maybe this is just the time for me to reset again, because I at that point in time I was coming off of being so stressed from not only working in that environment, but working really sometimes 12 and 14-hour days. Like there would be times where I would leave, when before the sun would come up, and I would come home when everybody had just gotten in bed, and my dinner's in the microwave.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
we're picking something on the way home, and I'm just like, this isn't fun. I want to be able to enjoy my home life too.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the time to, submit resumes or whatever, but I also took the time to say, I want to spend some time with my family because, my son was at that time, my youngest was really young. And so I was like, I want to spend some, time. So I remember
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd have him on the couch with me while I'd be on my laptop trying to
Mm.
read up on trading. And so I would be watching, and it's funny now because we listen to Unusual Options Activity, day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anything about black box, and I didn't know anything about Unusual Options Activity and how those things came across. And so I'd be sitting on the couch, and I would be in my broker trying to buy, not a whole lot of contracts, but I would be in there buying just based off of what they were saying online. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't know anything about theta or anything or expirations or anything. I'm just buying
Wow. Okay.
contracts.
Yeah.
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 So, but anyway, I would say shortly after like Christmas of that year, and then into January, February, I would say it was like early March. Um, I started just kind of looking around, and I found StockTwits, and on StockTwits, I ran across Teresa. She's one of the mods,
Mm.
and I ran across a post that some things that she was posting, and it's like, oh, black box. And so then I started doing my research, and I ran around, and I think I'd ran into like a YouTube video back then, and somebody did a review of it, and I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah.
options black box. And so they didn't have trials back then, and it was a lot smaller than it is now. And so I just was like, what have I got to lose? So I went and paid my membership, and
Mm-hmm.
that's been it. I've been on ever since. So
And
I was
what year
hooked.
was that? 2014 when you joined as a member? Is that what,
No,
or
no, no, no. That was 20 April of 2018.
okay, gotcha, gotcha. So you joined as a member, and like all of us, Teresa was the portal.
There you go.
Teresa, hello, Teresa. Teresa was the portal. So all right, so you're doing your thing as a member, and when did you start working? Like, how did the transition happen where you started working for Black Box? How long did that take?
So we were in chat one day, and I just remember like I didn't think that I was doing anything out of the ordinary. Um, but and I definitely wasn't as far along as I am now, like in trading.
Mm,
But
mm,
I think what, without even probably knowing it, and again, looking back in the rear view, is like I still had a passion for helping. So I was like kind of at this at the same time learning, but then also on things that I did know, helping, members who were in the room. And back then, like we could talk, everybody was on voice. And
oh
so
wow, yeah.
yeah,
Those days,
everybody was
huh?
on voice. Yeah,
That
yeah.
wouldn't be good
'Cause
now. That wouldn't work.
no, 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 no.
How many
And
members? How many members were there then? Do you think in 2018? 20,
there might have, I mean, I don't, that's a little above my pay grade in terms of
oh
knowing
yeah,
how many
yeah, gotcha,
exactly.
gotcha.
If I had to guess, I'd probably say there was less than 1,000.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
So
there was less than 1,000, so a lot lower than we have, than they have now.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, everybody could get on voice, and so Charlie called me, or he messaged me, and he was, and it was offered, and he was like, and so I really, and I want to say it was, I can't remember exactly what month, and I do have a terrible memory, but I want to say it was probably around the year mark.
Okay.
But it was, looking back, and I still have this now. It's just I've always had a passion for, helping, and as I've grown and walked along my journey, it's just all about saying, hey, like these are some of the pitfalls that I've ran across, and really trying to, because I think some of this is very individual, but then also there's just a lot of commonalities to the journey that we all go through. So I've just always had a passion for kind of helping, and so I think that's kind of how it evolved from what I can remember.
And the rest is history. And
there you go.
That's wild. I mean, if you wouldn't have, you talked about things, happening for a reason, and I mean, imagine if you'd have never gotten laid off, right? I mean, do you think without that catalyst, you might be doing that right now? You've never made your way to full-time trading, possibly. You've never come to black box, and it's way beyond the scope of our knowledge, of course. I mean, spiritual or not spiritual, it's just we have no way of knowing why things happen or what would have happened. But I don't know, but it's got to be safe to say you would have never imagined this situation as you are in right now back in 18 when you joined black box. I would imagine.
No,
it's got to be
no. From a personal standpoint, no. Now that I believe, I would divorce that from my own personal thoughts. I was super, and I'm, and look, I've often said, I've often said that, no matter who's around, I'd still say the same thing, right?
Yeah, right.
I was impressed with Black Box from day one. The reason why I say that is because I knew nothing about options trading. I knew I didn't know everything about, trading commons, but I felt like I had a pretty good handle on that from doing it for so long. But I knew nothing really. Like, I was looking back. I mean, I thought I knew. After being here for a few months, I was like, man, I had some good trades under my belt. I was like, man, I'm doing good. This thing is hard. But I quickly learned that that's not the case. But I was very much impressed from day one, and I think I shared that shortly after joining. And what really stood out to me here, the platform was really, I really enjoyed the platform, but and I really enjoyed the the things that they were showing as far as what the platform could do. But what really stood out to me was the level of, like, the familial atmosphere, if that makes sense, of the group.
Of course.
And
I agree.
when I got here, I was asking, again, we were all on voice, and people could have easily been like, shut the hell up, go read stuff and don't mess with me. I'm trading. I mean, and I've heard of other services that people are just assholes like that, or they're just very disdainful of new members. But here was not that way at all. I was very much impressed. And I remember, over some dinners, explaining, to my wife, it's like, wow, this totally blows me away. These people are willing to help. They're willing to answer questions. They're showing me different things. Again, we didn't have a as robust of an educational offerings as we have now. But even then, it was like, during market hours, when things were kind of slow, it's like, I was asking some questions and people were helping. And I was like, wow, these people truly want to help. And, I remember even, back in the day, we all joke about Charlie's temper sometimes. But I remember asking him questions left and right,
Yeah.
and he answered everything that I had, and Maria did
Yeah.
too, and Teresa and the rest of them. So I was very much like, wow, this is a place where I feel like I could grow. And so I never had a doubt that this would be something that would continue to evolve.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I was just like, wow, am I going to be able to do this? Because, again, new language and everything. It just felt like
Oh, yeah.
so much at one time.
Right. Right.
And when I said everything happens for a reason, I don't necessarily look back now and say, um, I don't say that based on the whatever position that I may have, if any, here or standing. It's very much I say that from a personal standpoint, that
Mhm.
because I remember that very real fear that I used to have of just what is out, the fear of now it's all on me. And like you said, no health insurance, that, or at least
That's right.
that would have to come from me individually, or me, now I have to, reach out to the people to set up my, you know, Roth and all that stuff. That's not done by HR, so I
That's right.
have to do all these things and be very self-reliant. So it's that very much was a fear for me back then. And so I just think, looking back, it's definitely something that kind of happened, and I think about that all the time now. I'm very thankful, very thankful. And
Mm.
so, like I said, that I come to work, with that mindset, and I'm throwing up work in air quotes, but I come to work, not only still enjoying, even to this day, having been on Voice with Maria now, and I'm just
Mhm.
using her as an example, but having been on Voice with her for the better part of 4 years, having been on Voice with Mel for years,
Yeah. Yeah.
having
Right.
been on Voice with, the rest of these mods, some of them for years. And it's just like, I don't, I look back on 9 to 5, when you be getting ready and you dread going to work, but it's completely opposite now.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
don't even think about it as
I I was immediately just same way. I was immediately impressed with what was going on, not just the platform, but like you said, the community. I know this is a much bigger thing, and I joined as a member about 6 or 7 months ago, and like some coming into it, when it's already getting big and getting bigger all the time. So of course, even though it's much bigger now, there's still that sense of community, which is amazing. Where I used to try to, I don't know, to go ask a question on stock twits or something back in the day and like hope a decent answer came. But now you can just hop on Discord almost 24/7, almost, and just people are willing to help. So I just remember showing up and having a similar thing and thinking, this is a great place, and immediately almost realizing I need to burrow my way into here quickly.
well.
I
There you
love it.
go. There you go.
Um,
And so, and again, having seen it now, I know, like I'll hear, Jenny, and I'll hear Charlie and Mari, and they'll talk about, times like even that precedes me, like times when they used to be instead of Discord, they used to be, on the phone, like almost like one of them old school like party lines, right? So they all be on
yeah,
a
yeah,
conference bridge.
yeah.
Um, and but just for me personally, for my time here, it's, and again, it's like that whole what do they think of next? So like
Yeah. Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
come out with again, knowing how it was then, and it was when I first joined, it was like really impressive then, at least to me, because it's like, wow, I never would have guessed that you could see these patterns, in flow, and it's telling you XYZ, certain patterns in flow are telling you XYZ, and it's like, wow, you can really get a insight into what these people are doing up on the street. But it's like even now, it's like as they have continued to evolve, it's like, wow, what do they think of next? Because it's like, I don't know. It's like I I really like to have been here for this amount of time, because it's like you see kind of where it was, but then over time, you kind of see the way that it's grown, and not only that, but the way that it's evolved. And
Hmm.
so I'm really always interested to hear, like when somebody will come on and talk about a new feature, because it's like, wow, I wouldn't have even thought about that. But it's kind of like a new technology, outside of this. It's like, well, I wouldn't have thought of that, but it's like now I realize I need it, So it's
right,
it's
right.
cool, it's cool having kind of seen that growth and seen the trajectory. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, growth has a lot of things to it. It also seems to me that it's got to be, now that it's bigger and there's a lot more members and you guys are still very available, for questions and comments and voice and everything. It's got to, it seems to me it's got to be a little bit more of a challenge in some ways for you guys to trade publicly and to just kind of do it compared to 2018, 2019. Is it more challenging in some ways on a personal level to to be available to so many people at this point? Is that a challenge,
Yes,
I would imagine?
yes.
Yeah.
To be completely candid, there's a lot more stress.
Mm.
And I say that because knowing, there is a lot of stress that comes from putting out a trade. You know, knowing that, someone could, for whatever reason, they could have analyzed the chart themselves. They could have just, on one side of it, they could have done a thorough analysis right after you get in the trade really quickly, or, on the other side of the spectrum, they could have, just followed you in because you got in the trade for whatever reason that they used to get in the trade. Like the way I look at it is that, I still suggested it, right? So
Hmm.
it is stressful from that, and this, I understand I'm just talking about one facet, but it is
Yeah,
stressful
yeah.
from that standpoint because, if I see someone that makes money, yeah, hey, that's awesome. It's
Mm.
like awesome that they made whatever.
Mhm.
But it's those times when that, not every trade is going to be green.
Yeah, right,
And somebody
right.
gets in the trade and they hit you up and they say, man, like I took XYZ, and they're and I, again, being very open, there have been times where I'll leave at the end of the day, and let's say it was one of those red trades, and it's I don't have an appetite,
Mm. Yeah,
or
yeah,
it bothers me, it'll bother me, and I may have to go watch something on TV, or watch some trash on TV or something like that to try to
yeah,
entertain my mind somewhere else. But that is, and then it it can be stressful too because while you put out a trade, and everybody's different, but for me I have to be very like dialed in, because I'm
yeah,
watching
yeah.
each movement, so I'm trying to
Right.
be very much, there's certain trades that provide more luxury in terms of sitting in them longer. But
Mm.
it can be stressful too when you immediately get into a trade and then automatically it's like boom, 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 boom. You're getting hit
Yeah,
with,
right,
hey,
right.
what do I do? Da, 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 da.
Mm.
Like, look, again, for me personally, I kind of have to walk the fine line. I don't want to be seen as an asshole, because I want to help people, but at the
Yeah,
same time, I physically don't have the bandwidth to manage a trade and field all of these questions and or concerns about it.
sure,
So
sure. Yeah.
definitely, yeah. But I would say that over time, I still enjoy it, yes. But over time, it definitely has become uh, more stressful. But it's
Mhm.
just part of the territory.
Yeah, sure. Definitely, people will often follow people into trades, but like the idea is, the exit is a personal thing, and the exit, everybody's exit is going to be different. And I imagine you guys can tell people all the time, don't follow us, for exits, manage your trade, small position sizes, or at least appropriate ones. I bet you can say that repeatedly every day, and there's still going to be people who don't heed that advice. And I'm sure that's a stressful part of all of your jobs. Has to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, because there's yeah, yeah, and and I get to the point sometimes where personally I'll think, well, don't even share the loss with me.
Mm,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
that I don't understand that a loss may have occurred. I mean, again, no one is perfect. No one has 100% record. And hell, the way I look at it is I lost money too.
That's
like
right. That's right.
I lost money too. So,
You're
I'm,
dealing with your loss. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, yeah. So I lost money too. But
Hmm.
but then you hear that, somebody else lost money, and it could, I don't, some people are very forthright and are very open and they say I lost X amount, but then other people are just saying, hey, I lost, and that's one thing for me that I've tried to distance myself from, meaning that I've tried over time to say, look, losses are a part of the game. Losses are just come with the territory. And hey, look, I know that that's the case when I'm dealing with my personal trades and or my personal money. But I
Hmm.
think that it introduces a different narrative when you have that and it's somebody else's money.
Yeah,
I'm not physically trading their account. I don't do that at all. And that's not what I'm saying. It's that that someone, and like I said, the way that I kind of think about that is, hey, at the end of the day, they took the trade. It's on them, But there's
hmm,
even though, at least for me personally, there still is a point where I'm like, damn. But hey, it's just
hmm.
like I said, it's just part of it comes
Yeah,
with the territory.
yeah, and I am certain I probably speak for everyone, and there's comments coming in saying the same thing. People appreciate your transparency, they appreciate your guidance, and like I said earlier, you probably most all the mods, you guys don't have to do this, and you guys are doing this, and it's just a huge service to the community. So I'm glad you go through that stress. That probably increases as membership grows. Like you said, it does. So you just gotta keep doing it, man. We love it. We love it. I appreciate that. But yeah, that's got to be just publicly trading. Period has to be. I mean, I've never done that. I would never want to do that. But just publicly trading is a got to be a thing that you don't know what it's like until you do it.
Yeah, it's like the way I I like to have fun. So the way I always explain it is it's like you've got, let's say if there's 3,000 people in the room, at any given time, and I know
Yeah.
everybody's not going to take your trade, not everybody's taking my trade or whatever. But I'm just saying, let's just say if you know, let's just say it's a third, or let's say it's 10%. If it's 10%, I've got 300 people looking at me while I'm trying to pee. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
good, bad,
Right.
or otherwise. But it is. And then I think
Hmm.
sometimes the expectations, what people expect, sometimes can produce a level of undue stress.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I get
Yeah.
DMs at
Yeah.
I get DMs at night. I get DMs in the morning. I
Hmm.
get like sometimes and I don't get this as much as I used to, but sometimes I used to get DMs at 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and it just and
That's heavy. That's heavy.
but I would say on the positive side, I think that what I enjoy the most is when you have like like the one that stands out to me the most is someone had reached out and said, hey, um, I was able to go from working a 9 to 5. I'm now getting ready to quit my 9 to 5, and in no way, shape, or form am I taking credit for all of that because it's a collective effort here. But it's like, look, you kind of pointed me in the right direction, and through Black Box, I was able to come in here and listen to what everybody's saying, and I put what you're, trading and what these other people are trading, and my knowledge now of, the flow, and I put all that stuff together, and it's like it's really helped me to get to the point now where I have hope, or
Mhm.
from a selfish standpoint, I had somebody reach out to me and they were like, look, by learning your charting, now I'm able to trade and somewhat, I put that together with the flow, and I'm paying for I forgot what family member, what relation, but it was a close family member, and I'm paying for their tuition to a college overseas.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and I hear those
Yeah.
stories, and it's like, to me, that far outweigh, I'm not gonna lie, it
Mhm.
does get stressful sometimes, but for me, those stories of people getting this and making a difference, on a personal level in their lives, and seeing like this is possible, or kind of going back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of this, when people are all at all different, uh, stages of life, and there's some people out there who are very much in financial despair.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so for me, hearing that, and sometimes it's people that I've never even heard, I've never even seen a message from them before, and they'll,
Yeah.
they might have been a member here for several months, and they reach out and they say, look, I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and I really appreciate, what you've taken the time to explain, in chat, from those, because it's really helped to expand my knowledge, or it's really helped me to get a steady stream of income. So when you hear those real life stories, to me,
Mhm. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
far outshadows, the rest of it.
Yeah. And that's powerful. That's affecting people's lives in a positive way. And we're only here for some days. We're only me and you and everybody else out there. I mean, we're just going to be here for a while, and then we're not going to be here. So while you're here, you're affecting people's lives positively, and that's a powerful thing. That's that's cool to hear, man. I bet those are some great. I bet those do make up for. One of those probably makes up for a lot of uninformed haters or whatever.
And that's another thing you brought up the H word. You know,
Yeah,
my
yeah. That's a weird word. That's a weird word, but yeah.
Yeah,
What's
it's
your
like
take on that?
I get again, I can only speak from personal
Yep.
knowledge, but it's like I'll hear different things, and it's like, look, people, we're all just here to all make money together. Like,
Mhm.
what is the I don't know. I don't know. We're all here to make money together. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you're only in competition with yourself.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
really are only
Yeah.
in competition with yourself. So, are you to look internally and say, like, are you evolving as a trader? Are
Mhm.
you having the same struggles that you were having, a month, 6 months ago?
Mm. Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
things to engage your internal progress. But, like I'll hear people, trying to throw rocks sometimes, and it's just like, again, we're
Mm.
forest for the trees. I'll put
Yeah.
it to you this way. I used to have, I always think about this guy. His name was Adam, and he had a friend named Jason. And
Mhm.
both of them used to be in my department. And I always use them as a case study. And I won't go super long on this, but I think it has some merit here. Both of them had the same kind of mindset. They would always commiserate, and
Mhm. Mhm.
very unopen to new ideas, and in business, or even in like our personal lives as traders, things are always evolving, right? You
Yeah.
have to, and especially in the
Oh
market,
yeah.
market's always changing. You have to evolve. Uh, you have to. I got to the point where in their coaching sessions, both of their individual coaching sessions, and I truly
Mhm.
believe this to this day, that if you are always looking externally and you
Mm.
say that the problem is always out there,
Mhm.
the problem is out here, the problem is, whatever it is, it's always externally, then it's going to be hard for you to succeed.
Mhm.
And so I think that rings true here in trading. If you're always looking at something externally, if it's
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
else's issue, if it's somebody did this, if it's I need to throw shade at this person, or I need to try to bring them down so it makes me look better, then that is doing yourself a disservice. Like, so I
Yeah.
go back to
Right.
Adam and Jason, and I just say real
Yeah.
quick that I got to the point after working with them for a while in their sessions, it's like, look, you're going to get managed out.
Mhm.
Meaning, and that's a nice way of saying you're going to be
Mhm.
terminated.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
eventually going to get fired,
Practical.
because you don't, you're not seeing what's being recommended to you in your coaching sessions. And then also you're not able to adapt to be effective in your role.
Yeah.
So I really think that as traders, both emotionally and, when we're trying to find our process, we have to be adaptable. And part of that adaptability means that we have to take responsibility, good, bad, or otherwise,
Yes.
for all these different facets and improve on them. And that's how we get. But yeah, the H word, man, it's like I hear things from time to time. It's like I've never understand that. I've never understood it.
Yeah, the same here. There's a lot of people, you're right about blaming things for trades going bad. A lot of people blame the market makers. There's a lot of people talking about this is rigged or that is rigged. I think that's great advice. For me, I really do feel like my only challenge really is psychology, like trade psychology, stuff involved in that. Like you said, I like what you said. We're our main obstacle in success. I'm with you. I mean, it's easy to reach out and blame certain things. I was, screwed by, President Biden speaking or whatever, fill in the blank, and having a more internal approach. I mean, I think that's a lot of wisdom right there, because there's a lot of blame you can find online and everywhere. Not necessarily, black box members, but just it's a typical thing for people who are trading, and when they lose, they don't look inside to see what went wrong with their process.
Or I'd say even just to kind of add to and expand on that thread, somebody who sees someone else succeeding and wants to do certain, and might want to either say things or, throw shade or want to try to pull them down. It's like, at the end of the day, we're all here, to accomplish the same goal. We're all here to make it from point A to point B. And, again, as long as I'm being candid here, I just think if somebody does that, it says more about them than whoever the person or whatever it is that they're talking about.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. People want to hate on success, and even not huge success. Even some people have small successes, and people still want to hate on that. And yeah, I don't know. Whatever we're bringing mentally to this this market is to me, I just think that's a huge part of it, and it's really awesome to learn from you guys who have such a better control over it than I personally do. And it's just it's something to strive toward. Not that it's not stressful for everyone. I'm sure it's stressful for all of you guys, but clearly, you're not exiting as soon as I am. So I need to learn.
Or hell, you may ride it longer than me. You may.
I don't know. Yeah, that's true. That's
stay
true.
in there longer than me, and I may be looking at you and saying, "Damn, River got all of that move. He got 75% of that move, and here I'm out. And I might feel like a piker because I got out earlier. But and I said that earlier because I'm not saying that. Look, I don't want it to come across. I'm not this. Look, I feel like I've been blessed to know enough about this to be dangerous and make a go out of it. And I'm not by any means trying to say that, I'm not a perfect trader. I'm not, anything. I'm just another spoke in the wheel, honestly. I'm just saying, like, I think sometimes there is a tendency in the trading community, you see these huge egos, and it's like, folks, like, again, forest for the trees. Is that mentality keeping you from? Is that really holding you back? Is that keeping you from making money and being your best self as a trader?
Yeah. I also wonder about really, really legendary traders. I know you like Jesse Livermore, right? And these people who are like just really famous. I mean, I've read about them, and it seems like they were kind of humble people sometimes. They weren't. And that's interesting, because those people, who are just extremely famous for what they've done, that seems to be a thread through some of their stories. To me, what I've seen, they're kind of humble, down to earth people, and they have all the clout that people would love to have who are faking out there, and they just didn't choose to, to throw it around. They're just, humility seems to be a good part of the pie that might lead one towards success, in my opinion.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think there definitely are some buttholes out there that were
Probably
successful,
some
like in the
super
past.
successful ones. Yeah, that's true.
In the past, there definitely were
No
some.
doubt.
But for me, I don't know. I just think it's definitely, like just focus on yourself. Like who cares what somebody else is doing? Just focus like what
Mhm.
you're doing. And like I said, are you as good as, if you were struggling with FOMO last month,
Mhm.
are you finding yourself better able to manage that, this month? And if you can say yes, or you can look at, tracking your trades and say, yeah, then guess what? I heard a saying a long time ago, and that is progress, even if you're moving forward and you're just taking baby steps, it's still progress.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So continue to move forward. Now, of course, if you're a year into it and you're still you're still, throwing it all on red and you're trying to be a serious
Mhm.
trader, that's completely different.
Yeah. Right. Right. Um, do you still struggle with those fundamental things like FOMO, or have you totally burned that out of your psychology? Do you still have those struggles ever?
Well, now let me say this to you. If you believe, now if I sit here and told you and I said I never struggle with those things and you believe it, then I've also got some oceanfront property to sell you in Arizona. To quote a famous song from back in the day. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we all still struggle with
Yeah.
different emotions. I just think that over time, at least for me, you realize how that can have an impact on your trading.
Hmm.
So I think I shared this in the room this past week. It's like I still struggle, like there are times where like I'm not gonna sit here and lie that I might see a position or a setup and be like, man, like I really want to take this. This looks good. But
Hmm.
um but I realize that by not following my process,
Hmm.
that majority of the time when I don't follow a process that I get burned.
Right. Right.
So there are still times where I might take now FOMO is not really something, but like maybe I guess another thing, a thing for me would be like, I guess a better word is like anticipation, like looking at a chart and saying,
Yeah. Getting in
oh
early.
man, like
Yeah.
this looks like this could do X, Y, Z, and it could move, and
Yeah.
if it
Right.
does move, and I mean the stars could align and be like, look, this looks like it could move, but that we all know that the market's going to do what it wants to do.
Yeah.
So when
I
I'm
heard you say. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, like, just to wrap it up real quick, when I'm feeling that way and I start to feel that feeling come over me, like there is sometimes, again, I ain't gonna lie, like there's some times that I want to be in that, but instead
Yeah.
of buying, 30 or 40 or 50 contracts, I might buy
Yeah.
one or two,
Right.
so
Right.
I still get the feel of that I'm doing X, Y, Z, but I'm definitely not out there, risk wise.
Yeah, sure. Now, I was saying I heard you this week sometime tell somebody you do sometimes break your rules. You said sometimes I feel the urge, or maybe you said you feel the urge to break rules. So is that the main thing? Getting in early. Sometimes you want to front run a chart and kind of jump in.
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, and this isn't, these are just personal trades. It's never like anything that I would put out. But
Yeah,
it's
right.
like,
Sure.
yeah, like putting out a trade, it always has to be like I gotta have, the stars damn near need to align. Like I need to see something really good and it's gotta be in the chart. But like personally, and it's not something that I would do often. I would say in any given week, maybe if I had to put a number on it, maybe um maybe like 2 to 4 times. But
Yeah.
again, when I look at now, sometimes it'll work out,
Right.
but
Right.
other times it doesn't, but I
Sure.
would say that it's not, if even if all of those positions, because of the amount that I'm putting into it relative to, just kind of going along that risk mitigation, protocol, I'm not risking anywhere near, the
Yeah. Yeah.
capital that it would take to put a dent in the portfolio. But I still scratch the itch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the takeaway. You just said one or two contracts, not 40, 50. So yeah, I hear you. Um, yeah. So here's the deal. I'm not going to keep you all day. I mean, I could. This is amazing. I do have one last thing I'd like to ask you, but there's you care about taking a few of these questions? There's definitely been some questions coming in.
Sure.
So, well, there's a lot of love for Maria, by the way. There's a lot of, when you mentioned her earlier, a lot of people are just saying great things about how significant she is to them and to the community. And yeah, Maria has got a lot of fans, as she should. Same with Charlie, by the way, which I agree. Charlie's the man. What are you drinking today? They want to know, if anything. What's your beverage of choice?
Beverage of choice is, I thought about having something alcoholic, but I was like walking down here to the office and remembered randomly that I had some ginger ale, so I just grabbed me some ginger ale.
Yeah, sure. Here's a good question. How long should someone trade options, in your opinion, before they get into mega cap trades? And they're talking Tesla specifically. That's a good question.
So I would say that there's not going to be a time frame. Again, it depends on each individual person. So this is really, if I had to sum it up in like that really quick, concise, tied up with a bow package, I would say first and foremost, realize that, you can study charts, you can study all these different concepts. I firmly believe this is 80% mental and 20% aptitude. So you've got to think about what you are here for, right? So before you think about, again, thinking about trading Tesla and Amazon and these mega cap techs, in my opinion, is like putting the cart before the horse. Don't think about it that way. Think about first what your goal as a trader is, what your end goal is. And again, if I had to go to two extremes, you have the gambler on one side and you have the serious, person that wants to make this a full-time career. And somewhere in the middle, you have a mixture of both, or you have one that is in denial. One is really on one side, but they're in denial and they think they're on the other side. Like you have some people who are serious about this, but they are in a gambling mindset and don't know it. Or they know it and they try to make it serious, but whatever, it's oil and water. But kind of getting back to it, I would just say, first off, you got to ask yourself what type of trader you are. And second of all, you have to manage to that expectation, meaning that if you are, if you would say to yourself, hey, I would do this at a poker table or a blackjack table or a craps table, I wouldn't do it here, right? If I'm going to be serious about this, because the reason why I start there is because those things can get magnified when you try to trade something like Tesla or Amazon. So because you're putting up more capital and because they're more erratic.
Right.
So, if I'm somebody that wants to be serious, but I'm gambling, you're going to get reamed. If you're not if you haven't developed a process, if you're a disciplined trader, or let's say you're serious and you're moving kind of down that route, and if you haven't developed a process yet that you can replicate on something like, let's say, Apple, Netflix, or something that isn't as erratic, or if it doesn't move as much as like a Tesla or Amazon, if you try to just go out there and you don't have this process, you're going to get killed. So I would just say that's, by asking that question, there are definitely some steps that have to be addressed first. And if you haven't gotten to the point where you have that defined process, then I would not even think about, messing with Tesla or Amazon.
Yeah, I know a person who, it's like a friend of a family member who had for him, it was a massive trading loss, and doing Tesla, and he was just taking a at the money low DTE call or put and just jumping in and trying to jump in the momentum just for a candle or two. And he just blew up. It just killed him. And it really affected his family financially for months. And that's good advice. It's just I don't really trade them at all. I'll sometimes do a little small position, but I respect it. You know, it's a different. Those are different beasts, and I just know I'm not there yet personally. So
Yeah, and I would say this too. You know, I'm really quickly. I feel like trading mirrors life. A lot of
mm,
concepts in trading mirror life, and maybe this could be a different,
mm,
topic for a different day.
yeah.
One of the things that I really, the example that I would give here, in the trading world, again, trading very different, as far as the mindset that people use sometimes. And I say this because think about it: if you're going on a blind date, right? You
Hmm.
you go on a blind date and you walk in the bar or you walk over wherever you're going to meet them, and you don't sit down. Let's just say they're attractive, right? You for whatever
You,
reason you're like, damn, they
you
look
got
good.
the cool water on.
There you go. Everything, from a superficial standpoint, you're like, damn, this, whoever that is
Yeah,
looks good.
looking
And that's
fine.
what
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
yeah, and that's what they got. You're sitting there in your mind, you're doing the Coke bottle thing with your hands. You're like,
Wait,
they look
wait,
good.
wait. Hold on. What's the Coke bottle thing?
Oh man,
Wait.
where you doing you put both of your hands up and you're doing the curves, But you can say
No, I don't
everything
know.
looks good.
So you're admiring the. I get it. You're admiring the shape of the Coke bottle. I
There
get
you
it.
go. There you go.
Yeah, yeah,
All the attributes, and so that's how people will look at Tesla or Amazon. They think they're just like
yeah. It's
sexy, man.
curvy.
It's just
That's
like,
right.
yeah,
No
they're
doubt.
like sexy. They can, but they only
Hmm.
concentrate on the reward. They don't
Mm.
concentrate on the risk. And so, again, going back to the example, you don't go on a blind date and you see somebody, this beautiful person sitting across from you, you know, you don't say the first word out of your mouth or even
Mm.
the whatever, after sitting with them for 10 minutes, you don't say like, hey, let's get married.
Right, right.
Right? You don't do that
Yeah,
in real life.
yeah,
So, but people
yeah.
will do that
So
with a
what?
ticker. They'll,
That's right.
they get attracted to it and then they immediately start putting their money into it. And you just
And
can't
they
do that. You have to spend some time.
and they split up and they lose half.
Well, I mean, hell, you might be upside down in the basement. You might wake up and
Um,
all your money's gone. You might wake
um,
up and have something you can't get rid of.
so
Uh, you might be dead. Who
you could
knows?
be. Now, trading mirrors life. I like that. You said so. That sounds like you might be up for another future episode, is what I kind of hear there. Maybe and maybe we need to explore that in the future. I like that. Um, no, that's the thing. Like people don't really have. I'm distracted by this thing. All right, so scrolling through the comments here. Somebody's telling me there are already cool water Kang memes on Discord as we speak. Just for your information.
We have some very creative folks. Very, very creative.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to check out after this. But thanks for the question, guys. There's just a man. There's a lot of questions, so we can't keep Kang here for too much longer. But definitely, I got one more thing to get your perspective on. If you got another 5 minutes or so.
Sure.
Here it is. So, and by the way, there's already a lot of people wanting a follow-up episode with you. So you have an open invitation. I hope we can make this happen again
Oh
down the
man,
road.
and look, I just say real quick, like I really appreciate like nothing, and I'm trying to go straight from the heart here. Nothing warms my heart more than it's one thing for me to spend some time here with you guys, but for y'all to set aside time and be here, like I don't know how many people are still hanging out with us. I know we've been out at this for a little bit, but nothing warms my heart more than everybody showing up. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everyone here, hanging out. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, man. It's a pretty big crowd, and they've been here, coming and going. But yeah, people commenting, man, they love it. We gotta do it again. But here's what I want to leave them with. This I think is going to be a good kind of transition. And by the way, some people are asking who's the next episode. The next episode is going to be with Maria, and that's going to be the last Saturday of this month, and it's going to be amazing. And it's on the education calendar right now. You can sign up for it same way as here. Next episode. That's right. People are freaking out in the comments. It is Maria. That's right. She's going to be the next guest on Riverside Chats. I can't believe it. I appreciate you, Kang. it's a ridiculous honor to be able to have this gig to just talk to you guys about this. I just feel like I'm in a private tutoring session. I feel like I owe you tuition for today. So I really
Oh
appreciate
no,
it.
man, no. I appreciate it.
And
And if I was to put on my just to show you how effective um, the crystal ball can be in trading,
okay.
I'm willing to look into the crystal ball and kind of preempt this last question. Maybe I can
Okay.
maybe I can answer this question ahead of time, and that is, I'm sure there may be a lot of questions about this, but I do prefer boxers, and I'm an avid fan of. I love Italian food. So those probably, and I like getting caught in the rain and drinking pina colada. So I'm sure that you might have been asked a lot of those questions. So I was trying to knock out like 95% of them there.
That's it. You got them. I mean, that's what they wanted to know. Boxers. So okay. So boxers, Italian food. Uh, request for a face reveal. You guys need to calm down with that because
I've been lobbying and also I've been lobbying DMAC for the longest time. In the merch store, we need to have a black box onesie. I'm still a very big proponent of that. I would trade in a black box one. I don't own any onesies, but I would wear a black box.
Those adult onesies, yeah, there's no doubt about that. There is a request for you to sing an outro. They love your singing. They want to hear that smooth tone, but he didn't come here to sing, so he may not want to bust into some song right on the lunch song. Request for the lunch song. He's here to be serious and to talk about a prelude that smells horrendously of spilled cool water and CK1. Let's hear a little lunch song. All right, so I definitely this could go on and on. I'm not going to keep you. I know you got things to do. It is the weekend. You need to go chill. But just real quick right now, we're in a new year. This is, last year has been tough for a lot of people. What are you hopeful about in this coming year? That's it. Anything at all. Trading, personal, the world, anything at all. What are you hopeful about going into 2022?
Damn, that's a lot.
Or we could do the lunch song. Yeah, what gives you hope as you look around our new year?
That's pretty. I feel like, look, I feel like River is standing next to me. Like, look, I picture myself, which I really love. I really love the ambiance, right? Like, I picture River in the smoking jacket.
Yeah, man. That's it.
I picture you like in a smoking jacket with like a old fashioned in your hand, and we're like sitting beside this fire in this shack somewhere, this log shack somewhere, and we're talking beside this fire, right?
Yeah, that's right. Nobody. I get into people's head. I'm good about it.
And now you made me feel like we're on a stage in Miami somewhere, and I got a bouquet of flowers, and I'm about to win this contest, and you're like, what would you like most in the next year? Like I'm a beauty contestant, Like, no, I'm messing with you.
Mr. Georgia, Mr. Georgia. What's good?
There you go.
What's good? What's the market? Is the market going up or down? Give me the. That's got to be annoying too. All those questions, man. People do want the crystal ball, but
yeah.
I don't know.
No. I would like for whatever this pandemic is to subside so that we can all and I'm not a tinfoil hat person on this, and I'm definitely not a anything like the conspiracy theorist or whatever. I personally like it. I draw a lot of happiness by seeing other people happy. I genuinely do. That's the reason why I come in here in the room, and trading can be very a very serious thing. It can be very like hectic and stressful, and look, I understand there's a time and place for humor or whatever, but I love to introduce levity to any given situation. Seeing other people smile, to me, that's the best form of soul medicine there is. So what I would like to see, what I would personally like to see is, pie in the sky very macro, is I would just like to see, whatever this is, Omicron or variants or whatever, kind of drifting to the ether, and us as a society, we kind of don't have that kind of overhang, and we're kind of able to go back to pre-COVID things, and everybody kind of world peace, and everybody's kinder and gentler to one another, and we all come back to so everybody's again, not to sound Pollyannish, but just everybody's happy.
Yeah, man. Amen. And again, thanks so much for hanging out. We're right at the 3-hour mark, and the people want more, so we got to go. But Kang, you're a gentleman and humble as ever, and I really appreciate you coming on this show and just spreading that wisdom and tales. And we got to do it again, brother.
Hey, it sounds good, River. And hey, I'll leave you with this, man.
Yes, sir.
So you just gave me a flashback. So before we were getting together, I said, you know what? I said, I'm gonna just have to call you, because I listened to the segment that you did with 7-Star, and I was listening to the questions and all that, and the flow and everything. I was like, man, this dude is like, you get those people that interview, and I'm like, this dude is, I'm gonna just have to call him Oprah, like the Oprah of Black Box. He's a very good interviewer. And I thought to myself, but then you just said 3-hour tour, and I was like, but now you made me think that I gotta call you Gilligan. So the 3-hour tour reference.
Here come the memes. Here come the memes.
There you go. But no, I've definitely enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, anytime. And I'm going to be in the room. I appreciate what you post in your room, and I will definitely be in the Discord Monday, and I'm excited to keep learning. And Maria has a lot of fans, man. They are really appreciating what she is and what she does for Black Box Stock. So again, guys, end of this month, she'll be the next guest. And we got to go, Kang. I appreciate it. And, man, have a great night, and see you Monday.
Sounds good, brother. I've really enjoyed it. And, again, thank you guys very much for being here. And it's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you guys on Monday. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Peace out. You guys have fun, and be nice to each other. See you next time. Well, that's it. That was a time. Huge thanks to Kang for coming on the podcast. Huge thanks to you out there for listening. Next episode is coming up on January 29th. See my Twitter @GreatRVR or the website renegadequest.com for more information. Stay safe out there. Riverside Chats, deep dives into all things Black Box Stocks, is a trading podcast that is meant to bring you guys closer to these full-time traders and moderators. Don't take anything you hear as financial advice. Be nice to each other. See you next time.